Chapter 29:20. Hearing Wu Liang's words, Lin Feng's eyes couldn't help but brighten up. Okay, then let's go and deal with this evil monk. That bastard was so arrogant before. Let's see how he'll teach him a lesson. Lin Feng said. Then he set off with Wu Liang to find the whereabouts of the evil monk. The evil monk was very terrifying. The key was that many of the evil monk's methods were extremely strange. Previously, when Lin Feng fought against the evil monk, he only managed to repel it with all his magic weapons. From this, it could be seen how terrifying the evil monk was. Many of the evil monk's methods had not been used yet. If he used those powerful methods, even if he used all kinds of magic weapons, he would still be crushed by the evil monk. However, Wu Liang didn't give the evil monk a chance to make a move. The main reason was that Wu Liang's 3 pure talisman was too powerful. If it weren't for the 3 pure talisman, it would be as difficult as ascending to heaven for Lin Feng and Wu Liang to deal with the evil monk. However, this was the reason why cultivators were so powerful. Cultivators could think of ways to create all kinds of things to increase their combat strength, such as magic weapons, jade talismans, and so on. And these things could often allow cultivators to achieve unexpected results when fighting with others. They could even reverse the entire battle situation. Wu Liang had already locked the evil monk's whereabouts through the 3 pure talismans' energy into the evil monk's body. Therefore, the evil monk couldn't avoid Wu Liang's attack. Lin Feng and Wu Liang quickly flew towards the evil monk's lair. This was a sea area surrounded by fog, exuding a gloomy and terrifying aura everywhere. The fog contained highly toxic toxins. These toxins were very terrifying. Once inhaled into the body would quickly be corroded by the toxins. At that time, only death would await. Lin Feng summoned the white jade toad. Croak, croak, croak. The white jade toad let out a loud cry, and a layer of holy power exuded from its body. That layer of holy power formed a light shield protecting Lin Feng and Wu Liang. When the toxins rushed over, they were blocked by the energy light shield. This white jade toad is not bad. Taoist Wu Liang looked at the white jade toad with eyes full of greed. This guy had crooked thoughts about Lin Feng's white jade toad. Lin Feng said indifferently, "The white jade toad has a spirit. You'd better not have any ideas about it." Immeasurable Taoist priest spoke up, "Look at what you're saying. With our relationship, how could I have any ideas about your spiritual pet? I'm not such a person." "If you're not that kind of person, then who is?" Lin Feng could not help but roll his eyes. Not long after, Lin Feng and Wu Liang Taoist arrived at the depths of the foggy sea area. Wu Liang Taoist said, "I can sense that guy's aura. He should be down there." Lin Feng nodded and said, "Let's go down and take a look. But be careful. The evil monk is definitely not easy to deal with. Even if the evil monk was injured by the 3 pure talismans, it's definitely not easy to deal with." Taoist Wu Liang said, "Of course. Better safe than sorry." The two of them carefully sneaked into the depths. When they reached the bottom of the sea, they immediately discovered that the bottom of the sea was filled with corpses. The densely packed corpses were simply innumerable. There were corpses of human cultivators, ferocious beasts, and the corpses of various races, extraterrestrial races, and other forces. There were simply too many corpses. It was impossible to tell how many corpses there were. The underwater world was simply like a kingdom of corpses at the bottom of the sea. There are so many corpses. Just how many living beings have died here? Lin Feng could not help but take a deep breath. He looked at the piles of corpses in front of him in shock. In a place far, far away, there were piles of white bones. Wu Liang Taoist said, "That guy was definitely born here. No wonder he's so powerful. After absorbing the evil thoughts in these corpses, It's hard for him not to be powerful. Lin Feng said. However, these evil thoughts also prevented him from increasing his cultivation. If he wants to complete the transformation, the more evil thoughts there are in his body, the more difficult it will be. At the center of the corpses, Lin Feng saw a corpse palace. Wu Liang Taoist said, "He's inside. I can sense that guy's aura." Swoosh! Suddenly, an evil light flew out from the corpse palace. It was the evil monk. Lin Feng and Wu Liang Taoist quickly chased after the fleeing evil monk. The evil monk's aura was many times weaker than before. Clearly, the 3 pure talismans had caused quite a lot of damage to the evil monk. Wu Liang Taoist said, "The 3 pure talismans taste good, right?" The evil monk replied coldly, "What? Are you trying to kill us all?" Lin Feng said, "Of course not. We don't want to kill you. The 2 of us only want wealth. Since you've stayed in this sea for so long, you must know a lot of secrets. Moreover, you must have obtained a lot of good things. Share some of your powerful abilities, treasures, and wealth with the 2 of us, and we'll leave immediately." The evil monk sneered. "You actually dare to rob me? How laughable!" Wu Liang Taoist said with a smile, "We don't find it laughable. The current you is not a match for the 2 of us. A dragon in the shallows is being toyed with by shrimps, and a tiger in the plains is being bullied by dogs." The evil monk said with a gloomy expression, "You're the dog. You're the shrimps." Lin Feng and Wu Liang Taoist cursed. "Chase after this guy and capture him. Let's see if he'll talk or not." Wu Liang Taoist said, and increased his speed. Lin Feng also increased his speed. The evil monk was extremely evil. He had killed many innocent people. Lin Feng did not feel any guilt when dealing with the evil monk. As the 2 parties fled, a huge crack appeared in the sea. The evil monk fled into the crack. Lin Feng and Wu Liang Taoist quickly chased after the evil monk. However, as soon as they entered the crack, a terrifying fluctuation swept through the world. Lines of formation, runes, appeared in the huge crevice at the bottom of the sea. Those runes were extremely terrifying as they sealed the heavens and the earth. Absolute kill formation. Lin Feng and Wu Liang Taoist's expressions changed. There was an absolute kill formation here, and the evil monk had deliberately lured them into it. Kik, that's right. There's an absolute kill formation here. Now that you're trapped in it, let's see how you'll die. The evil monk laughed sinisterly. What delicious flesh. Yi Fuqian murmured. Chapter 29-21. It was a devil python, a legendary creature. According to the classic of mountains and seas, there was a python as big as a mountain. It had the head of a devil, a green face, fangs, and eyes like bronze bells. It was known as the devil python, and it was said to be one of the guardians of the netherworld. It was Lin Feng's first time seeing the devil python. In the past, when he had read about the devil python in the classic of mountains and seas, he had not felt much about it. Now, however, after seeing the devil python, he could not help but feel a chill. The devil python's aura was extremely terrifying. It was definitely a fearsome creature. Ha 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 ha. Old brother devil python, the 2 prey I brought you today are not bad, right? Evil monk laughed loudly. This was the devil python's lair, an extremely dangerous place. Evil monk had been fleeing all this time, but he had not been fleeing without a destination. He had been going through many places, his ultimate goal being to lure Lin Feng and Wu Liang into the devil python's lair. And now he had succeeded. Lin Feng and Wu Liang were trapped here, surrounded by the grand deathly array. There was also the devil python, a terrifying creature, eyeing them covetously. The situation was extremely dangerous. Any carelessness could lead to death. Why isn't the guardian of the netherworld in the netherworld? Why is it here? Immeasurable Taoist asked as he looked at the devil python. Apparently, Immeasurable Taoist had also heard of the terrifying devil python. Can't the creatures of the netherworld leave the netherworld? Besides, the netherworld is a place for the dead. What's so good about that place? The outside world is better. The devil python said coolly. Lin Feng sneered. Is the outside world really good? In the netherworld, you are the guardian of the netherworld, a lofty existence. The netherworld is vast, and you can roam freely. But here, you are trapped in this tiny ocean, unable to leave. You will forever be trapped in this ethereal ancient kingdom of chaos. It is like being locked in a prison. You must be yearning for the netherworld, right? Yet, you refuse to admit it. Brat, are you mocking me? The devil python's eyes flashed with killing intent. Of course not. I am just stating a fact. Lin Feng said indifferently. You're courting death. The devil python's killing intent surged to the heavens. At this moment, Evil Monk said, Brother Devil Python, this brat isn't anything good. Let's kill him. Eating his flesh and blood can help Brother Demonic Python's cultivation to improve greatly. As for that Taoist priest, leave him to me. The evil monk was very humble in front of the devil python. The first reason was that the evil monk was injured and his strength had decreased greatly. The second reason was that the devil python was truly terrifying. Even the evil monk at his peak was extremely wary of it, let alone now. All right, then let's kill these two lowly ants, said the devil python. Then he launched a fierce attack on Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang. The absolute kill formation had been activated. All kinds of attacks came at him from all directions. If an ordinary cultivator were to be trapped in such a killing array, they would have fallen into despair. However, Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang both had unfathomable attainments in formations. The absolute kill formation here was so powerful that Lin Feng could feel the aura of death enveloping his body. However, Lin Feng was not without a way to deal with it. When the attacks came at him, Lin Feng began to circulate the Stone Sovereign Sutra. This was the legacy of the Heavenly Masters and also the foundation of their lineage. Just like the archaic dragonesque elephant art, it was the foundation of cultivation. When the Stone Sovereign Sutra began to circulate, Lin Feng could immediately sense the operation of the formation around him. When he understood the operation of the formation around him, he could completely grasp the attack patterns of the formation. When the time came, he would naturally be able to dodge the formation's attacks. Taoist Wu Liang's methods were also extremely extraordinary. His 8 scrolls of feng shui's secret techniques contained profound techniques. The 8 scrolls of feng shui's secret techniques were something that Lin Feng had been coveting for a long time. However, Taoist Wu Liang was very tight-lipped. He had no intention of teaching Lin Feng the 8 scrolls of feng shui's secret techniques. Boom! Terrifying fluctuations swept through heaven and earth, shaking the void. When the attacks were about to hit Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang, the two of them quickly dodged the attacks. So many attacks came at them like rain. It was too dense. However, in the face of such dense attacks, Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang were still able to dodge them with ease. Take the initiative to attack. I'll deal with the evil monk. You deal with the devil python, Taoist Wu Liang said, and pounced at the evil monk. Lin Feng attacked the devil python. The heavenly mystery pagoda above his head took out 2 stone swords and the bell of hell. Although Lin Feng's bell of hell was sealed, it was rumored that it was a supreme treasure forged by the first king of hell. It had a special status in the underworld. Moreover, the bell of hell could restrain all living things in the underworld. This was the most terrifying thing about the Bell of Hell. The devil python came from the underworld. It would be restrained by Lin Feng's Bell of Hell. Die, kid! The devil python roared, and its thick, mountain-like tail smashed towards Lin Feng. Heaven and earth collapsed. It was extremely terrifying. Lin Feng dodged the devil python's attack while controlling the two stone swords to launch a fierce attack on the devil python. The devil python's terrifying tail knocked away Lin Feng's stone swords and then attacked Lin Feng. Lin Feng tried his best to dodge the devil python's attack, but was unable to. The devil python smashed into his body. Although he had the protection of the heavenly mystery pagoda, he couldn't help but feel his blood and chi churn. He almost spat out a mouthful of blood. He really didn't know how strong the devil python was. Even with Lin Feng's strong defense and the protection of the heavenly mystery pagoda, he still suffered such damage. The devil python was truly worthy of being one of the protectors of the underworld. It was really too abnormal. I'm going to eat you. The devil python roared and opened its bloody mouth to devour Lin Feng. It wanted to eat Lin Feng in one bite. But at this moment, the bell of hell flew in front of the devil python's head and suddenly vibrated. Dong! Dong! 3 bell rings resounded. Screech! The devil python immediately let out a miserable shriek. Bell of hell! It's actually the bell of hell. You actually have the bell of hell. The devil python roared in pain, and its huge body twitched violently. Because of the pain, its thick tail couldn't help but twitch. A large amount of seawater engulfed the heavens and the earth, forming monstrous waves above the sea. Die. Chapter 29-22. Lin Feng wanted to take advantage of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to kill the devil python in one fell swoop. However, the devil python's means were extremely terrifying. 2 cold and terrifying rays of light shot out from its eyes. The 2 rays of light contained a power that could destroy heaven and earth. It was terrifying to the extreme. It pierced through the void and blasted towards Lin Feng. Bang! Bang! The devil python's 2 rays of light swept across Lin Feng's body and sent Lin Feng flying. The devil python had a lot of means. It was too difficult to kill it. On the other side, Wu Liang Daoist and the evil monk were engaged in a fierce battle. At this moment, a black armor appeared on the evil monk's body. It was unknown what material the armor was made of. After putting on the armor, the evil monk's defensive power was greatly increased. Therefore, its combat power became extremely terrifying. Facing Wu Liang Daoist's attacks, the evil monk was able to handle them with ease. On the contrary, Wu Liang Daoist was flustered by the evil monk's attacks. Human brat, your flesh and blood is making this seat drool. Are you ready to be devoured by this seat? The devil python laughed sinisterly. The stronger Lin Feng was, the more excited it became. The stronger Lin Feng was, the more powerful Lin Feng's body was, and the purer his flesh and blood were. After devouring Lin Feng, the benefits it would obtain were even greater. The devil python's eyes were like the eyes of a demon. They could shoot out extremely terrifying rays of light. The attack power of these rays was extremely tyrannical. If he were to be hit by this gaze several times in a row, he would be in an extremely dangerous situation. At that time, the defensive light barrier formed by the heavenly profound pagoda would be destroyed, and the situation would be extremely dangerous. The devil python was too powerful. If he continued to fight, Lin Feng felt that he would not be able to defeat the devil python. His current advantage was that he had many treasures in his possession, especially the Bell of Hell King. As a treasure forged by the Nether Lord, it could suppress the devil python. Lin Feng controlled the Bell of Hell King to attack the devil python once again. Dong! Dong! The Hell King bell let out a series of loud, ringing sounds. This kind of bell sound was able to cause a great deal of damage to the devil python. Previously, the devil python had been injured by the sound of the Hell King's bell. Now, the Hell King's bell was showing its might once again. However, this time, the Hell King's bell failed to deal any damage to the devil python. Seeing this, Lin Feng could not help but frown. Could it be that the bell of Pluto was unable to deal any damage to the devilish python because it had sealed its hearing? The more Lin Feng thought about it, the more he felt that it was possible. Suddenly, the devil python opened its bloody maw and a massive sphere of light with a diameter of 300 meters formed. That huge ball of energy directly blasted towards Lin Feng. It was impossible to dodge such a huge ball of energy. In particular, the energy ball had exploded. The resulting destructive power was even more terrifying. Boom! A loud sound was heard. The energy ball exploded. Terrifying energy fluctuations surged out and fiercely collided with Lin Feng's body. Lin Feng was directly sent flying. The energy barrier formed by the heavenly pagoda emitted cracking sounds. Numerous cracks appeared, and the defensive barrier formed by the heavenly pagoda was almost instantly destroyed. At this moment, the devil python's eyes once again shot out 2 rays of light. Those 2 rays of light instantly blasted onto Lin Feng's body. This time, the defensive barrier of the heavenly pagoda was destroyed. This defensive magic treasure needed to be recuperated for a period of time before it could be used again. Lin Feng stored the heavenly pagoda into his mountain river ring. Now, facing this extremely terrifying devil python, Lin Feng could not help but feel a headache, because the devil python was really too difficult to deal with. Hell King's bell. I must rely on the Hell King's bell to defeat the devil python. Lin Feng could not help but take a deep breath. However, he did not know how to unleash the power of the Hell King's bell. This magic treasure was a treasure that was sealed. Without breaking the seal, many of the Hell King's bell's powers could not be unleashed. Recite an incantation after me. At this moment, the demon lord's voice resounded in Lin Feng's mind. After hearing the demon lord's words, Lin Feng's expression suddenly changed. Now that the demon lord had said these words, did it mean that the demon lord knew how to unleash the power of the Hell King's bell? If that was the case, it would be a great help to him. The supreme mysterious chi begins in the central courtyard. The demon lord's voice continued to resound in his mind. At this moment, the demon lord began to recite an incantation. Hearing the incantation in his mind, Lin Feng also began to recite along with the demon lord. He discovered that this incantation was actually a method to circulate the magic power. The human body was formed by countless acupuncture points and meridians. Different acupuncture points and meridians could form different meridian circulation methods. Each meridian circulation method had many meanings, and the resulting effects were completely different. Now that Lin Feng was circulating his magic power according to the incantation chanted by the demon lord, he suddenly felt a special kind of energy being produced in his body, and this energy was continuously being absorbed by the Hell King's bell. Whoa! Suddenly, the Hell King's bell took the initiative to fly out. Then, the Hell King's bell shook the void. Waves of ripples surged out from the Hell King's bell. Hell King's wave. This kind of ripple was extremely powerful, and it was one of the abilities of the Hell King's bell. The Hell King's bell displayed an incomparably powerful might. The waves of Hell King's wave bombarded the devil python's body. The devil python's body suffered great damage, but compared to the damage to its body, the damage to its soul was even more serious. Screech, the devil python, let out one miserable shriek after another. This terrifying creature turned around, wanting to escape. But at this time, the Hell King's bell actually emitted a powerful devouring power, and that devouring power directly enveloped the devil python, and then swallowed it. Treasures like the Hell King's bell often contained a small world or space, and could devour anything. Even the devil python was devoured. The Hell King's bell is really too terrifying. Lin Feng couldn't help but take a deep breath. The Hell King's bell was really too tyrannical. Lin Feng felt that he had only released a small part of the Hell King's bell's power, and it actually displayed such a terrifying power. This was really unimaginable. If the Hell King's bell's power was fully released, how terrifying would it be? The Demon Lord grasped many amazing techniques, but he didn't teach me any of them. If it weren't for the danger today, I'm afraid that this guy still wouldn't teach me how to activate the Hell King's bell. In the future, I must find a way to get these powerful secret techniques from the Demon Lord. Lin Feng couldn't help but ponder. Kid, what are you waiting for? Quickly come and help. Chapter 29-23. Lin Feng turned to look at the other battlefield. Wu Liang was in a perilous situation. The evil monk wearing the black armor was simply too powerful. Even Taoist Wu Liang couldn't deal with that evil monk's attack. If the battle continued, Wu Liang might really be killed by the evil monk. You're still alive, aren't you? I'm coming to help you. Lin Feng leisurely flew towards the evil monk. Wu Liang should be able to hold on for a while longer. Lin Feng was quite fond of Wu Liang's wretched appearance. What a bad friend! What a bad friend! Taoist Wu Liang wailed. What are you talking about? Doesn't it take time to prepare for an attack? Lin Feng could not stop himself from saying, as the heavenly profound pagoda could not be used for the time being, Lin Feng brought out a new magic treasure. The magic treasure he brought out was the 5-dragon wheel. Although it was only an incomplete immortal artifact, its power was still extremely terrifying. Hell King's bell, 5-dragon wheel, 2 stone swords. Lin Feng controlled the 4 powerful magic treasures. At present, Lin Feng was doing 4 things at once. He charged straight at the evil monk. If Master Taoist doesn't show his might, do you think Master Taoist is a sick cat? Seeing Lin Feng attack, Wu Liang's face lit up. At that very moment, Wu Liang seemed to have transformed into a different person. He instantly went from being in a disadvantageous position to being evenly matched with the evil monk. Clearly, Wu Liang had not gone all out earlier. The evil monk's face sank. That was especially true when the devil python was devoured by Lin Feng's Hell King's bell. The evil monk did not want to continue fighting. The evil monk was incapable of controlling the grand killing arrays here. Thus, the grand killing arrays fell into a state of silence after the devil python was devoured. Without the grand killing arrays, it would be even more difficult to deal with Lin Feng and Wu Liang. The evil monk knew that very well. Therefore, the evil monk wanted to escape. However, just as it was about to flee, Lin Feng caught up to it. All 4 magic treasures charged at the evil monk. At this moment, evil monk was being held back by Taoist Wu Liang. How could he still deal with Lin Feng's attacks? Bang, 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 bang. Lin Feng's 4 treasures collided with the evil monk's body, and the sound of explosions spread in the air as Lin Feng's 4 treasures bombarded the evil monk's body. Evil monk was directly sent flying. Moreover, the power of these 4 magic treasures was simply too tyrannical. The black armor covering the evil monk's body also dimmed from the beating. In the end, the black armor retracted back into the evil monk's body. The horsetail whisk in Taoist Wu Liang's hand swept towards evil monk. The horsetail whisk in the dead Taoist's hand was an extremely powerful magic weapon. As for the origin of this magic weapon, Lin Feng did not know. This powerful magic weapon swept the evil monk's body and directly sent him flying. Lin Feng's Hell King's bell struck the evil monk's body. Kacha, kacha, kacha. Sounds were heard. The bones of the evil monk scattered on the ground. Bullying with numbers. Bullying with numbers. You have an unfair advantage. You have an unfair advantage. Evil monk's head soared into the sky as he shouted and rushed into the distance. However, at this moment, Lin Feng quickly rushed over and suppressed the evil monk's head. Now that you have fallen into our hands, are you convinced? Lin Feng asked while holding the evil monk's head. The evil monk rolled his eyes and said, "It's better to squash enmity than keep it alive. Let's talk things out." Taoist Wu Liang went up and slapped the evil monk. He sneered and said, "Why are you so shameless? You have the nerve to say such words." Evil monk roared, "A warrior prefers death to humiliation. Just kill me." Lin Feng said indifferently, "Look at what you're saying. It's as if the two of us like to kill innocent people. We're only after wealth, not killing. If you know what's good for you, we naturally won't take your life." Evil monk said, "Over the countless years, there are indeed many treasures in the storage rings of the corpses in the sea, but time is enough to destroy everything." Taoist Wu Liang said fiercely, "Are you saying that you don't have any treasures on you? If that's the case, what's the point of keeping you alive? Why don't we just kill you?" "Wait!" Evil monk suddenly shouted, "Do you have anything to say before you die?" Lin Feng looked at evil monk indifferently and asked, "Although I don't have any treasures to give you, I can give you a scroll. This scroll is very special. It hasn't been destroyed by the power of time, and it records the core secrets of the world inside the Chaos Gate." "What? You still have such a scroll? Quickly take it out and give it to us." Taoist Wu Liang shouted excitedly, "Promise not to kill me, and I'll give it to you," Evil monk said in a deep voice. No, definitely not. Quickly take out the scroll," Taoist Wu Liang said anxiously. Evil monk opened his mouth and spat out a scroll. It flew out and landed in Taoist Wu Liang's hand. Taoist Wu Liang opened the scroll. Lin Feng looked at the scroll and saw a large river drawn on it. The end of the river seemed to be connected to an immortal mountain. However, the world in front of the mountain was covered by a thick fog. The fog covered all the paths, and no one was able to ascend the immortal mountain. "What's the secret inside?" Lin Feng asked. "I don't know because I can't enter the world inside the Chaos Gate. However, as long as you enter the world inside the Chaos Gate, you might be able to discover the secret." Evil monk couldn't help but say, "All right, I'll believe you for now." Lin Feng looked at evil monk and couldn't help but smile. He said, "You should remember a lot of powerful techniques, right? Now, tell me all of them, and I'll let you go immediately." The evil monk said with a wry smile, "My memory loss is very serious. I do remember a few magical powers, but I don't remember much. If I had mastered the magical powers you have, with my spiritual power, no matter how many magic treasures you have, you wouldn't be my opponent." Lin Feng didn't doubt that. Evil monk's magic power was too strong. Lin Feng felt that evil monk's magic power was almost on the same level as a god emperor. What evil monk lacked was the cultivation of various divine abilities. No matter how strong one's magic power was, it still needed to be displayed in the form of divine abilities. Evil monk had cultivated too few divine abilities, so he couldn't display his full strength. "Tell me all of the divine abilities, Lin Feng said. Evil monk took out a jade tube and handed it to Lin Feng. "They're all inside. Can you let me go now?" Lin Feng removed the seal on evil monk. Evil monk was left with only a head, and it quickly fled. Evil monk's vitality had been greatly damaged, and his cultivation had plummeted. It would take many years for him to recover. Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang quickly left. Chapter 29-24. Lin Feng first took out the jade tube that recorded the supernatural powers. his spiritual sense invaded it, and immediately found that there were 6 kinds of supernatural powers inside. With the evil monk's strength, it was indeed too little to cultivate only 6 kinds of supernatural powers. These 6 kinds of supernatural powers were heavenly demonic hands, heavenly strike, immeasurable, boundless golden light, and Buddha demonic palm, chaotic heaven, and earth. Among the 6 kinds of supernatural powers, Lin Feng had seen the evil monk use heavenly demonic hands. As soon as the heavenly demonic hands was used, an extremely powerful demonic hand condensed in the black fog. It grabbed the world with boundless power. As for the other supernatural powers, Lin Feng had not seen the evil monk use them. Supernatural powers were a kind of supplement and precipitation to one's Tao foundation. The foundation of the Tao was stable. Only then could one display one's combat strength. Moreover, the more supernatural powers one cultivated, the more proficient one would be in dealing with all kinds of situations. This was because all things in this world reinforced and restrained each other. Supernatural powers also reinforced and restrained each other. Why was the Red World Fairy so powerful? It was because the Red World Fairy cultivated 3,000 great Taos. Basically, any kind of supernatural power could be restrained by one of the 3,000 great Taos. Therefore, it was too difficult to defeat the Red World Fairy. Of course, it was not impossible for some people to cultivate a Tao to the extreme and have heaven-defying combat strength, but such people were too rare. Moreover, cultivating a Tao to the extreme was too monotonous, and it was easy for others to find flaws. Therefore, this situation was not suitable for ordinary cultivators to cultivate. The evil monk was defeated because of this. The evil monk had boundless magic power, but he cultivated too few supernatural powers, so he could not truly release his combat strength. In fact, thinking about it carefully, the evil monk could not be blamed for this. The reason why the evil monk cultivated fewer supernatural powers was that after the evil monk awakened, he forgot a lot of his memories. This included the cultivation methods of many powerful divine abilities that the evil monks had forgotten. Therefore, the evil monks didn't cultivate many divine abilities. Lin Feng used a jade tube to copy these 6 supernatural powers. Then, he handed the jade tube to Immeasurable Taoist. Immeasurable Taoist glanced at it and put it away without carefully studying the 6 supernatural powers. Lin Feng did not carefully study these 6 supernatural powers either. He would find time to study them. As for now, Lin Feng and Immeasurable Taoist's thoughts were on the scroll. The two of them carefully looked at the scroll, trying to find something special on it. But after searching for a while, they found no clues. Maybe we can try to invade the scroll with our divine sense, said Lin Feng. Let's try to invade it. With that said, the two of them tried to use their divine sense to comprehend the scroll. However, they did not know how to do it, and their divine senses could not penetrate the scroll. The immeasurable Taoist cursed, immeasurable deity, his entire family. Is that evil monk lying to us? Anyone who encountered such a situation would feel that they had been deceived. Lin Feng frowned. He had a feeling that the scroll was not as simple as it seemed. Thus, he believed the evil monk's words. The evil monk had said that the scroll contained the secret of the world behind the Chaos Gate. He was probably not lying. Moreover, Lin Feng, an immeasurable Taoist, should have been able to tell if the evil monk was lying or not. Lin Feng said, "There should be no problems with the scroll. Let's try comprehending it again and see if there are any new changes." Immeasurable Taoist nodded and continued to comprehend the scroll with Lin Feng. After an unknown amount of time, Lin Feng suddenly heard the sound of flowing water ringing in his ears. When Lin Feng opened his eyes, he realized he was already in a mysterious world. There were birds singing and flowers fragrant. Celestial qi was everywhere. Strong qi was everywhere. It was a picturesque scene. Lin Feng couldn't help but linger in the air for a while, forgetting to go back. It was as though he had arrived in the immortal world. Such a place. It was a place that everyone yearned for. It was peaceful, tranquil, and beautiful. There was an immortal mountain in the distance. It was shrouded in immortal mist. Lin Feng was shocked when he saw the immortal mountain. The immortal mountain was the one Lin Feng had seen on the scroll. It was full of mystery. Lin Feng increased his speed and flew toward the immortal mountain. However, no matter how hard Lin Feng tried, he could not reach the mountain. The immortal mountain was like a mirage in the legends. He could see it, but he could never reach the place where the mirage appeared. What a pity! The immortal mountain is so far away. I can only see it from afar. I can never reach it. Lin Feng flew for a very, very long time, but he still couldn't reach the celestial mountain. Suddenly, the sound of cranes could be heard in the distance. Lin Feng saw a flock of cranes flying toward him. The flock of cranes was extremely fast. They flew in the direction of the immortal mountain. What shocked Lin Feng was that the flock of cranes actually passed through the immortal mist surrounding the immortal mountain. Then, they entered the area shrouded by the immortal mountain. The cranes have entered the area. When Lin Feng saw that, he was astonished. His eyes twinkled. Would there be other cranes coming? If other immortal cranes came, he would be able to fly onto those immortal cranes and ride them to the immortal mountain. At the thought of this, Lin Feng's face broke into a smile. He was really a genius. He could even think of such a method. Next, Lin Feng waited for the cranes to arrive. Not long after, another flock of cranes flew in from afar. When Lin Feng saw the flock of cranes, he could not help but get excited. He soared into the sky and flew toward the cranes. He wanted to ride on one of them and enter the immortal mountain with them. Swoosh! But at this moment, the cranes turned into immortal swords. Each of the swords tore through the void. The power was so terrifying that it made people pale. These cranes were too powerful and terrifying. There was no way to fight against them. Cranes turning into swords can cut through heaven and earth. These cranes are so powerful. Lin Feng quickly retreated to avoid the attacks of the cranes. The cranes did not chase after Lin Feng. Instead, they left quickly. In the blink of an eye, they were far away. They changed from immortal swords to cranes and flew into the immortal mountain in groups. Maybe I can turn into a crane and enter with the other cranes. Lin Feng could not help but think. He was proficient in the art of great transformation. He could turn into anything he wanted. Swoosh! There was a flash of light. Chapter 29-25. After turning into a crane, Lin Feng spread his wings and soared into the sky. He was waiting for the other cranes to arrive. This was the first time Lin Feng had used the great transformation art to turn into a spirit beast. In the past, when Lin Feng used the great transformation technique, the most he could do was change his appearance. But now Lin Feng felt as if he had really turned into a crane. The world was so big that he could soar freely. With a flap of his wings, he could fly to wherever he wanted. Before the cranes arrived, Lin Feng wanted to give it a try. He wanted to see if he could fly into the immortal mountain in the form of a crane. Lin Feng flapped his wings and flew toward the immortal mountain. He could hear the howling wind in his ears. He tried many times, but he still couldn't get close to the immortal mountain. Lin Feng couldn't help but think, could it be that the cranes have a special method to enter the immortal mountain? The more Lin Feng thought about it, the more he felt that it was possible. If they didn't have a special method to enter the immortal mountain, why couldn't he go in? Not to mention going in, he couldn't even get close to the immortal mountain. Lin Feng decided to continue waiting for the other cranes to arrive. Not long after, the cries of cranes could be heard. Lin Feng looked into the distance and saw a flock of cranes flying toward him. When he saw the cranes, Lin Feng flapped his wings and flew toward them. The flock of cranes also saw Lin Feng, who had turned into a crane. Then, the flock of cranes turned into immortal swords and slashed at Lin Feng. Holy shit, what's going on? Lin Feng rolled his eyes. He had already turned into a crane, so why were the cranes still attacking him? Lin Feng turned around and fled into the distance. He pushed his speed to the limit. Lin Feng seemed to have turned into a dazzling bolt of lightning. His speed was unbelievably fast, but the cranes behind him were also extremely fast. He chased after Lin Feng relentlessly. We're all from the same clan, so don't keep chasing after me. We're all from the same roots, so why are you in such a hurry to kill each other? You guys keep chasing after me like this. It really makes those who see you sad, and those who hear you cry. Lin Feng shouted as he ran. However, the cranes did not respond to Lin Feng. They continued to pursue Lin Feng, sending out sword beams at Lin Feng from afar. Those sword chis were truly peerless and terrifying. They were so powerful that it made people turn pale with fright. Lin Feng dodged the attacks of the sword chi in a very sorry state. After frantically fleeing for 6 hours, those red-crowned cranes finally left. These fellows can tell that I'm not one of them? Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter. He used the great transformation technique and returned to his original appearance. Lin Feng's hopes of following a flock of red-crowned cranes into the immortal mountain were dashed, so he decided to find another way. The ancient and dense forest was completely silent. Lin Feng flew above the ancient forest. Not long after, he saw a raging river running through the ancient forest. The river was several thousand meters wide. From time to time, huge waves would roll, sweeping through heaven and earth and shaking the void. Suddenly, a rumbling sound came from afar. Raging waves beat against the shore, shaking the void for hundreds of thousands of miles. Lin Feng looked into the distance and saw a huge stone tortoise swimming over. Stone tortoise. When he saw the stone tortoise, Lin Feng was extremely shocked. Stone tortoises were very extraordinary in the Stone clan. Not only did they represent longevity, but they were also associated with some very mysterious things. For example, the black tortoise tablet. The black tortoise here was a type of stone tortoise. Now that there was actually a stone tortoise here, Lin Feng was extremely shocked. Little Feng, come up quickly. We'll follow the stone tortoise to the immortal mountain. Taoist Wuliang suddenly appeared on the back of the stone tortoise and shouted at Lin Feng. You're here too? Lin Feng's face lit up when he saw Taoist Wuliang. He quickly flew over and landed on the back of the stone tortoise. If you can come in, then so can I. Looks like you haven't gained anything yet. Taoist Wuliang said with a smile that wasn't quite a smile. Lin Feng said, Who says I haven't gained anything? I discovered that many of the cranes of the Crane clan can also enter the immortal mountain. Moreover, they can transform into immortal swords. Each one is more monstrous than the last. The stone tortoise said, Those cranes are very special. They have extremely terrifying abilities. They've inherited the legacy of a stone crane, and they've mastered heavenly arts. Lin Feng asked, A stone crane? Is it also a Xiantian life form? That's right. It's a Xiantian life form. It's extremely terrifying and has long since developed flesh and blood. It's one of the guardians of the immortal mountain. The stone tortoise said. Lin Feng had some understanding of the path of evolution of these Xiantian life forms. Xiantian life forms were originally part of the Stone clan. When they were born, their bodies were actually made of stone. Through cultivation, their bodies could transform into flesh and blood. This was a major transformation. Once they transformed into flesh and blood, their life force would undergo a complete transformation. However, Lin Feng had heard that after transforming into flesh and blood, they could continue to evolve. The next time they evolved, they would turn into stone again, and their battle prowess would increase greatly. The next time they evolved, they would become flesh and blood. Every evolution was extremely difficult for these life forms, but if they succeeded, it would definitely be a huge leap forward. Lin Feng looked at the stone tortoise and couldn't help but ask, "Senior Stone Tortoise, are you also a sentient life form?" The stone tortoise said, "I'm just a piece of useless stone. By chance, I awakened my spiritual sense and transformed. I'm not one of those noble sentient life forms." The stone tortoise seemed to be intentionally belittling itself. However, Lin Feng felt that the stone tortoise was very extraordinary. At this time, Taoist Wu Yang asked, "What's inside the Immortal Mountain?" "The Immortal Mountain is very mysterious. I've never entered it before. I've only carried a few people inside," said the stone tortoise. Next, Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Yang chatted with the stone tortoise. They heard quite a bit of shocking news from the stone tortoise. As they got closer to the Immortal Mountain, the waves in the river grew more and more violent. "Sit tight. A terrifying life form will appear soon," said the stone tortoise. Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Yang were shocked. Terrifying life form? What kind of life form was it? Roar. At this time, a deep roar was heard. Next, a huge head emerged from the river. When they saw that huge head, Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Yang's faces were immediately filled with shock. It was actually a 9-headed flood dragon, and its aura was monstrous. It was really too terrifying. The 9-headed flood dragon opened all 9 heads, wanting to swallow the stone tortoise, Lin Feng, and Taoist Wu Yang. Chapter 29-26. Lin Feng had heard of the 9-headed evil flood dragon more than once. During the prehistoric times, this creature was an absolute overlord and was extremely terrifying. It was rumored that the 9-headed evil flood dragon was the offspring of a stone dragon and an evil flood dragon. Due to the mutation of its bloodline, it grew 9 heads. The 9-headed evil flood dragon's bloodline was passed down, and for a long time, it was known as one of the most terrifying beasts in the world. The introduction of the 9-headed evil flood dragon in the Classic of Mountains and Seas went like this. This beast was born with the body of a dragon and the head of a flood dragon. It was 1,000 meters long when it was young and 10,000 meters when it reached adulthood. This beast hunted all kinds of divine beasts for food and was extremely ferocious. This beast was called the 9-headed evil flood dragon. The Classic of Mountains and Seas had a very detailed introduction of the 9-headed evil flood dragon. The reason was that the 9-headed evil flood dragon was too powerful. The world was always full of curiosity about such a mysterious creature. Now that the 9-headed evil flood dragon had appeared and displayed its peerless strength, it was indeed too shocking. After sensing the terrifying aura of the 9-headed evil flood dragon, Lin Feng only had one thought, and that was to escape as far as possible. No one could fight against a creature like the 9-headed evil flood dragon. Just as the 9-headed evil flood dragon was about to swallow Lin Feng, Taoist Wu Yang, and the stone turtle suddenly sped up. It was as if it had teleported. It disappeared in an instant. When it reappeared, it was already 1,000 meters away. The 9-headed evil flood dragon missed. Roar, roar, roar. After missing, the 9-headed evil flood dragon roared furiously. Its huge body quickly swam in the river and chased after the stone turtle. The stone turtle's speed was not slow at all. It was unbelievably fast, and even the 9-headed evil flood dragon could not catch up with it. After chasing for a while, the nine-headed evil flood dragon retreated and hid in the depths of the river, disappearing without a trace. Lin Feng asked in confusion, "Why did the nine-headed evil flood dragon stop chasing?" The stone turtle said, "The nine-headed evil flood dragon has its own mission. Its mission is to intercept any living being that enters the immortal mountain. However, if one is able to pass through its defensive area, the nine-headed evil dragon will not continue to chase after them, and the cultivators who pass through the nine-headed evil dragon's area will have the qualifications to enter the immortal mountain," Taoist Wuliang said in shock. The nine-headed vile Wyrm actually has such a mission? Is it one of the guardian beasts of the immortal mountain? The stone turtle shook its head and said, "No. To be more precise, it's cursed." "Oh, what's going on?" Lin Feng's spirit was slightly shaken, and he couldn't help but ask. He was very sensitive to curses, because he had several terrifying curses on him. Other than that, Lin Feng had also seen many terrifying curses, such as the fire crow's curse, and so on. The curse was surrounded by a mysterious power. To the people of the world, it was full of mystery. It was also incomparably bizarre and terrifying. Therefore, Lin Feng would always pay more attention to anything related to the curse. The stone turtle said, "In the past, the nine-headed evil dragon relied on its powerful cultivation to wreak havoc in the world, causing countless massacres. Therefore, someone walked out of the immortal mountain and subdued the nine-headed evil dragon. Then, with the power of the curse, the nine-headed evil dragon turned into an undying cursed being, forever guarding this river. So that's how it is. It seems that the being that lives in the immortal mountain is truly peerless and terrifying. I wonder what good things it will leave behind." Lin Feng's eyes suddenly lit up. Taoist Wuliang also kept rubbing his hands, revealing a look of joy. He wanted to get some opportunities from the immortal mountain. The stone turtle carried the two to the foot of the immortal mountain. "Go ashore. I hope you can get what you want," the stone turtle said. "Thank you, Senior." Lin Feng and Taoist Wuliang thanked the stone turtle, and then they went ashore. The stone turtle, on the other hand, dived into the water and disappeared. "Ha ha ha ha, we've finally arrived at the immortal mountain. Heavenly Lord Wuliang, this is a place where immortals live. I wonder what good things there are." Taoist Wuliang laughed excitedly, and then he rushed toward the immortal mountain. Lin Feng also rushed toward the immortal mountain. However, the two of them didn't even take a few steps. Suddenly, two beams of immortal light swept down and hit Lin Feng and Taoist Wuliang. Then, the world turned upside down. Lin Feng and Taoist Wuliang found that they had disappeared from the immortal mountain and returned to the real world. The scroll, which was originally emitting holy light, was suspended in midair. The scroll returned to its normal appearance and fell to the ground. The immortal mountain is the shocking secret inside the primal chaos gate, and we've found the way to enter the immortal mountain. The key lies in the stone turtle, Taoist Wuliang said. Everything that they had just experienced was so real. However, it was just something that happened when their divine consciousness was immersed in the scroll world, and it wasn't real. If they wanted those things to become real, they had to enter the world inside the primal chaos gate and find the immortal mountain. Next, Lin Feng and Taoist Wuliang began to search for the primal chaos gate. They felt that many great emperors should have already entered the world behind the primal chaos gate. At this time, it might not be so dangerous for them to enter the world behind the primal chaos gate. Now was the time to enter the world behind the primal chaos gate. However, after searching for a long time, they still couldn't find the primal chaos gate. The primal chaos gate won't disappear just like that, right? Lin Feng frowned, and thought of a possibility. It won't. Let's keep looking. We'll find it sooner or later, Taoist Wuliang said. Before they could find the primal chaos gate, they first met the heavenly demon emperor's son, Gongzong Sheng Yuandao, and others. There was also Guang Yuanzi of the Geomaster lineage, Wu Qianquan of the Exalted Immortal Sect, and others. There were also many top experts of the myriad races, extraterrestrial races, and other foreign factions. These experts had been searching for Lin Feng's whereabouts recently. They wanted to kill Lin Feng. They realized that Lin Feng was too big of a threat, and they didn't want to let Lin Feng continue to grow. Before Lin Feng fully matured, they wanted to kill Lin Feng first. There was also an otherworldly being. This otherworldly being was the one that Lin Feng had severely injured a long time ago. This otherworldly being was called the Evil Scorpion Lord. Now that he had established his own faction and had recovered extremely quickly, he was even more unfathomable now. There were rumors that this otherworldly being's strength had recovered to the great emperor realm. However, no one knew if these rumors were true or not. However, there was no such thing as a groundless rumor. Perhaps there really was such a possibility. Lin Feng, your time of death has come. Chapter 29-27. Everyone, I'm not familiar with this kid. We're not the same kind of people, Taoist Wu Liang shouted, trying to distance himself from Lin Feng. Lin Feng couldn't help but roll his eyes. This damn Taoist Wu Liang was really shameless. Just a moment ago, they were calling each other brothers. Now, they were strangers. Damn Taoist Wu Liang. Compared to this kid, I want to kill you more. Guang Yuanzi of the Geomaster lineage looked at Taoist Wu Liang with killing intent. This damn Taoist Wu Liang is a grave robber. He previously said that he would go to the heavenly sage great world to dig up the graves of our ancestors. A myriad races, cultivator said. Hearing the words of the cultivator from the myriad races, the surrounding cultivators were in an uproar. They all glared at the immeasurable Taoist. One had to know that in the bloodline lineage world, the concept of clans was extremely strong. Perhaps this was the so-called sense of belonging. Clans could unite these people who had the same blood flowing in their veins, allowing the race to continue. Therefore, the cultivators in the cultivation world were extremely respectful to their ancestors. Many cultivators valued the reputation of their ancestors more than their own lives. This was also the reason why after the graves of their ancestors were dug up, there would be endless hatred. Taoist Wu Liang actually said that he would go to the heavenly sage great world to dig up the graves of their ancestors. How could these myriad races cultivators not be angry? It's a misunderstanding. I didn't say that. As a person, you have to have a conscience. You can't frame me. Taoist Wu Liang shouted. Naturally, he wouldn't admit to the words of that cultivator. Damn Taoist Wu Liang, shameless. Skin this damn Taoist Wu Liang alive. Many myriad races cultivators sneered. Their killing intent towards Taoist Wu Liang was very strong. I can prove that this damned Taoist Wu Liang said those words. Moreover, this damned Taoist Wu Liang is extremely unprincipled. Who knows how many cultivators' graves he has dug up over the years? I can guarantee that if this damned Taoist Wu Liang really goes to the heavenly sage great world, the graves of our ancestors will be dug up by this damned Taoist Wu Liang. This damned Taoist Wu Liang has many tricks up his sleeves. It's impossible to guard against him. Lin Feng said loudly. Many people were completely dumbfounded. Were these two guys really best friends? Now, one of them wanted to abandon the other and escape. One of them kept bad-mouthing the other, so that everyone would deal with the other. Could this be the so-called, when disaster strikes, everyone flies separately? Even if they really couldn't fly away, would they still have to pull him along? What are we waiting for? Let's go. While everyone was distracted, Lin Feng took out the Heavenly Mystery Pagoda and activated it. With the protection of the Heavenly Mystery Pagoda, he, an immeasurable Taoist, quickly broke through the encirclement, courting death. The cultivators in the direction where Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang broke out of the encirclement all roared in anger. Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang broke through from their place. Didn't this mean that they were inferior to the other cultivators? How could he not be angry? All of them were filled with killing intent as they launched all sorts of attacks at Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang. The rest of the cultivators also recovered from their shock. They began to channel their magic powers or bring out their magic treasures to attack Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang. Boom, boom, boom. Facing everyone's attacks, Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang took out a dense number of jade talismans. They didn't plan to fight with these people. This was because this battle was completely one-sided. There were simply too many people on the other side. Moreover, there were too many experts on the other side. Once they were surrounded, only death would await them. Therefore, there was only one way out, and that was to break out of the encirclement. Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang were both proficient in arrays. Therefore, they would often carve many powerful offensive jade talismans. This was to prepare for emergencies. And now, these jade talismans were of great use. Lin Feng took out more than 300 offensive jade talismans. Taoist Wu Liang also took out a similar number of offensive jade talismans. Boom! A loud sound rang out. A total of 600 to 700 offensive jade talismans exploded. It created a huge impact that could destroy the heavens and earth. There were more than 300 people in the direction that Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang chose to break out of the encirclement. However, these cultivators didn't dare to take on the explosive power of 600 to 700 jade talismans. Of course, they could take the risk. However, many of them would definitely be killed by the explosion. The remaining people would probably be able to stop Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang. However, who would be willing to be the first to be killed? No one wanted to die. If they could live, who would want to die? Unless they were willing to sacrifice themselves to help others. The world of cultivators was a world where benefits were paramount. It wasn't a world where sacrificing oneself to help others. Therefore, when the jade talismans exploded, many people chose to retreat. They didn't want to take on the explosive power of the jade talismans. The other cultivators took out their sacred arts and magic treasures. However, they were all blocked by the Heavenly Mystery Treasure Pagoda. This defensive monarch weapon played a crucial role in this moment. If it wasn't for this defensive monarch weapon, he would have been seriously injured even if he didn't die. Then, Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang rushed out. After breaking out of the encirclement, they were like dragons soaring into the 9 heavens. No one could stop them anymore. Damn it! Hundreds of people were broken through by 2 people. They're a bunch of trash. Many people cursed. Their expressions were extremely gloomy. The cultivators who were cursed couldn't help but sneer. In their eyes, this group of people was just standing there and talking. If they were the ones being attacked, would they risk their lives to stop Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang? We were distracted by the conversation between those 2 shameless people. That's why they had the opportunity. Otherwise, why would we let them break out? Let's go and chase after them. Don't let them get away, a cultivator said. These cultivators chased after Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang. However, they couldn't catch up to them in the end. Immeasurable exalted celestial and his 18 generations of ancestors. In the future, Not only will I dig up the graves of the ancestors of the myriad races, but I will also dig up the graves of the ancestors of the foreign races and cultivators of the other powers. Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang stopped to rest in a forest. Then, Taoist Wu Liang began to curse. It wasn't easy to break out of the encirclement this time. It was really thrilling. If they hadn't been distracted by those guys, they might have really died under the siege of so many experts. Count me in. When the time comes, we'll make a fortune. Who knows, we might even get a lot of powerful inheritances. Lin Feng said, Kik, don't be delusional. You'll never have the chance. At this moment, a sinister voice resounded in the forest. Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang were shocked. They didn't notice that someone had appeared here. Chapter 29-28. Who is it? Come out. Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang looked around as if they were facing a great enemy. Their expressions were cautious and alert because this existence made them feel a dangerous aura. This was a very scary thing. If they encountered some top experts, they could easily die in the hands of these top experts. Therefore, they had to be extremely careful when facing these experts. Sha, sha, sha. A rustling sound could be heard. At this time, Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang saw a monster walk out of the forest. It had a scorpion body, and a cold light flashed in its eyes. The foreign creature, evil scorpion lord. It was actually this terrifying existence. The foreign creature's strength recovered incomparably fast. How long had it been? The evil scorpion lord's strength had already reached this level. As for the demon lord, after so many years, his cultivation was still far from the level of the past. In terms of recovery ability, there were probably not many existences in the heavens that could be compared to the foreign creatures. So it's you. I really didn't expect your strength to have recovered to such a shocking level in just a few years. Lin Feng couldn't help but take a deep breath. The foreign creatures should be killed. These foreign creatures should all be killed. Leaving them alive would be a disaster. When the time came, who knew how many people would die in their hands? The evil scorpion lord laughed sinisterly. My race's recovery ability is already very strong. If it wasn't for the fact that I couldn't find a powerful bloodline, I would have recovered long ago. However, if I can devour your bloodline, my strength will increase by leaps and bounds. Swoosh! As soon as the foreign creature finished speaking, he took out his war spear. With the war spear in hand, he charged towards Lin Feng. Kill! Shouted Lin Feng in a deep voice. Then he took out the heavenly mystery pagoda and 2 stone swords. At the same time, Lin Feng also took out his magnetic field. The magnetic field formed by the 3 layers of Haki was incomparably powerful. It enveloped the evil scorpion lord, causing his speed to decrease greatly. At this time, Taoist Wu Liang also took out a supreme treasure. This treasure was a scythe-type treasure, a bit like the legendary scythe of the Grim Reaper. However, it was clear that the treasure in the immeasurable Taoist's hand was not the death god's scythe. Clang! At this moment, Lin Feng wielded the 2 stone swords and fought against the evil scorpion lord. Endless power surged out of the battle spear. Then, it vibrated along the stone sword towards Lin Feng. The stone sword was extremely powerful, but Lin Feng was unable to unleash its full power. At this moment, the holy scorpion evil lord was simply too powerful. Even with the stone sword in hand, Lin Feng was no match for him. Lin Feng was sent flying by the holy scorpion evil lord. The powerful vibration power wanted to destroy Lin Feng's body, but it was neutralized by the heavenly mystery pagoda. After repelling Lin Feng, the evil scorpion lord swung his scythe at Taoist Wu Liang. With a clanging sound, The scythe-shaped magic weapon was directly swept away. The great emperor realm. Lin Feng looked at the evil scorpion lord with a serious expression. This guy's strength had definitely recovered to the great emperor realm. Otherwise, there was no way he could be so terrifying. Lin Feng's expression turned very ugly. After the evil scorpion lord recovered to the great emperor realm, his recovery speed would only get faster and faster. By then, who would be able to kill him? This time, they were in big trouble. It wasn't just him and Taoist Wuliang who were in big trouble. It was big trouble for all the living beings of the 9 states. Back then, Lin Feng had seriously injured the evil scorpion lord, but Lin Feng's injuries were too severe. He didn't have the energy to chase after the evil scorpion lord. In the end, he let the evil scorpion lord escape. If he had killed the evil scorpion lord back then, this terrible situation wouldn't have happened. Are you ready to die? The evil scorpion lord looked at Lin Feng with a sinister gaze. Wielding his battle spear, he charged at Lin Feng again. Humph! Lin Feng put away a stone sword. With the heavenly mystery pagoda above his head, he held a stone sword with both hands. At the same time, he used the 1 chi into 3 pure ones technique. 9 layers of hockey superimposed. The magnetic field was at its strongest state. Next, Lin Feng's 2 clones also took out their magic treasures. The first clone wielded the other stone sword and the 9 demons painting. The second clone wielded the Bell of Hell King and the 5 dragon wheel. Then, together with Lin Feng, they attacked the evil scorpion lord. The current evil scorpion lord was too terrifying, so Lin Feng didn't have to hide anything. The magnetic field formed by the 9 layers of hockey slowed down the evil scorpion lord. Even someone as powerful as the evil scorpion lord couldn't move an inch in the face of the magnetic field. The magnetic field formed by Lin Feng's 9 layers of hockey could imprison a great emperor. Lin Feng wanted to take advantage of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to kill the evil scorpion lord. But who would have thought that at this moment, the evil scorpion lord opened his mouth and spat out a magic treasure. It was a golden shield that emitted great emperor's aura. This treasure was also an emperor's weapon, which shocked Lin Feng. The golden shield floated above the evil scorpion lord's head. Beams of golden light fell from the sky. The golden light beams protected the evil scorpion lord's body. When Lin Feng's attack came, it was blocked by the golden shield's defensive light beams. Not good. Lin Feng's expression changed. The evil scorpion lord had a defensive great emperor's weapon. This was too terrifying. If such a terrifying existence had a defensive great emperor's weapon who could fight against it, total annihilation. At this moment, the evil scorpion lord attacked with lightning speed and swept out his battle spear. Bang! 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 The evil scorpion lord's battle spear swept Lin Feng's body and sent Lin Feng flying. The 2 clones exploded in midair. The 9 domineering magnetic fields also dissipated. Lin Feng's blood and qi roiled, and he almost coughed up a mouthful of blood. Go to hell! The evil scorpion lord charged at Lin Feng with lightning speed, his battle spear piercing towards Lin Feng's body. He wanted to kill Lin Feng in midair. The evil scorpion lord's battle spear was also an emperor's weapon. It pierced through Lin Feng's defensive light barrier. Just as the spear was about to pierce Lin Feng's chest, swoosh. At the critical moment, Lin Feng used the heaven patching art. Before the evil scorpion lord's spear could pierce through his body, he dodged the evil scorpion lord's terrifying attack. Oh, heaven patching art. That's a powerful technique, but it can only save you once. How are you going to block it next time? Chapter 29:29. Lin Feng's expression was extremely gloomy. He quickly retreated, purposely widening the distance between him and the evil scorpion lord. The evil scorpion lord was simply too terrifying. The battle strength of a great emperor was indeed shocking, not to mention that the evil Scorpion Lord was a foreign living being. In the same realm, foreign living beings were much stronger than great emperors of other races. Lin Feng estimated that the evil Scorpion Lord was at most in the God Emperor realm, and it was very likely that he was only in the first or second heaven of the God Emperor realm. This was the early stage of the Great Emperor realm. But even if people told Lin Feng that the evil Scorpion King could compete with cultivators of the 8th or 9th Great Supreme God layer, or even celestial emperors, Lin Feng wouldn't be surprised. When the evil Scorpion Lord pounced towards Lin Feng realized that immeasurable Taoist had circled behind the evil Scorpion Lord. Then, immeasurable Taoist took out a yellow talisman. 3 pure talisman. It was actually the 3 pure talisman. Lin Feng had seen immeasurable Taoist activate the 3 pure talisman before. That was why he could recognize it. This damn Taoist said that he only had 1 talisman on him. It was obviously a lie. This damn Taoist really didn't speak the truth. Fortunately, immeasurable Taoist knew that the foreign living being wasn't easy to deal with, so he took out the 3 pure talisman to deal with it. Lin Feng took the initiative to attack the foreign living being. He wanted to hold it back. Then, he would let immeasurable Taoist's attack take effect. This time, Lin Feng took out the 2 stone swords, Hell King Bell and 5 Dragon Wheel. They all attacked the foreign living being. "You're courting death." The foreign living being sneered. The war spear in his hand swept towards Lin Feng. Instantly, 10,000 spear lights condensed, densely packed. There were countless of them, and all of them were attacking Lin Feng. Lin Feng took out the 4 supreme treasures and swept out all sorts of terrifying attacks to block the 10,000 spear lights. At this moment, immeasurable Taoist activated the 3 pure talisman. A saint light condensed from the 3 pure talisman and shot towards the foreign living being. Success! Seeing that the saint light was about to kill the foreign living being, Lin Feng and immeasurable Taoist couldn't help but reveal an excited expression. They deeply understood how terrifying the 3 pure one's talismans were. If the 3 pure one's talisman's attacks could hit the foreign creatures, then that would be the end for them. Even if the foreign living being was an Emperor Realm being, they would also suffer extremely serious injuries. However, the holy light released by the 3 pure one's talisman was about to strike the foreign creature's body. However, the foreign living being's chooses to the point. The holy light released by the talisman of the 3 pure ones was swallowed up by the distorted void. To him, Lin Feng and the boundless Taoist priest were astonished. The foreign creature's methods were just too terrifying, truly making one feel a type of extreme despair. So, Lin Feng. Meanwhile, this time, the direction it flew towards was the immeasurable Taoist who was hiding behind the foreign creatures. Mention immeasurables. Boom. With a dull thud, Taoist Wuliang was sent flying by the holy light. That was the saint light from the 3 pure talisman. The foreign living being didn't know how to turn it into his own attack. Now that the attack landed on immeasurable's body, it definitely caused unimaginable damage to him. With a thud, Taoist Wuliang fell into the forest, motionless. It was unknown if he was dead or alive. "I'll take your dog life." Lin Feng roared. He summoned the 2 ghost emperors. They attacked the foreign living being together with the 2 ghost emperors. "It's useless. If you don't enter the Emperor realm, you're all ants. No matter how heaven-defying you are, as long as you haven't cultivated to the Emperor realm, you're nothing but an ant in the eyes of an Emperor realm expert." The foreign living being looked at Lin Feng and the 2 ghost emperors with contempt. Boom! A great battle erupted. Lin Feng and the two ghost emperors worked together, forming a triangle that surrounded the foreign living being. Then, they launched a fierce attack on the foreign living being. However, the foreign living being's combat strength was too heaven-defying. Lin Feng and the two ghost emperors were defeated by the foreign living being. They were all sent flying. "It's all over." The foreign living being's voice was extremely cold. He slapped his palm toward Lin Feng and the two ghost emperors. A huge palm as big as a mountain condensed and slammed toward Lin Feng and the two ghost emperors. This attack was simply too powerful and terrifying. When the attack came, Lin Feng realized that the surrounding void was sealed. There was no way to dodge this attack. The situation was extremely dangerous. At this critical moment, a beam of sword chi suddenly flew over from the sky. The sword chi tore through the void and instantly slashed toward the foreign living being's energy palm. Puchi. This attack directly tore the energy palm formed by the foreign creature into two halves. However, the sword chi didn't dissipate. Instead, it continued to slash toward the foreign living being. "Who exactly are you?" The foreign living being's expression became extremely gloomy. The person who attacked was definitely an extremely terrifying existence. This was something that the foreign living being was very clear about. However, that existence didn't appear. That sword chi seemed to have become eternal and immortal. Clang! Then, the sword chi slashed on the foreign living being's defensive light barrier and directly tore it apart. After the foreign living being's defensive light barrier was torn apart, that sword chi actually didn't dissipate. The foreign living being's defensive light barrier was released by an emperor weapon. That sword chi was really too powerful. It destroyed the foreign living being's divine ability and then destroyed the emperor weapon's defense. Moreover, its power was still extremely shocking. Puchi. A tearing sound was heard. The foreign living being's body was directly torn into two. "Good, good, good. I'll remember you." The foreign living being roared with resentment. His body that was cut into two directly exploded. Then, the foreign living being turned into a cloud of blood mist and rushed into the distance. Soon, he disappeared without a trace. That sword chi also dissipated. "Thank you, Senior, for saving my life. This junior will never forget it." Lin Feng cupped his fists and thanked him. However, he didn't know who saved him or why. However, that expert didn't appear. All of this was destined to be a question in his heart. Lin Feng put the magic treasure into his storage ring and had the two ghost emperors return to the ghost-raising jar. Then, he quickly ran toward the immeasurable Taoist. Ouch, it hurts so much. Who would have thought that just as Lin Feng was halfway there, the immeasurable Taoist sat up by himself? Chapter 29:30. Seeing that Taoist Wuliang was still alive, Lin Feng hurriedly ran over, then kicked Taoist Wuliang and said unhappily, "I was so worried about you just now. I didn't expect you to be pretending to be dead." Taoist Wuliang hurriedly cried out, "I was wronged. I was really wronged. I was knocked unconscious just now. When that guy ran away, I had just woken up. That's why you think I was pretending to be unconscious. Think about it. Am I that kind of person? I am an extremely loyal person. When I see a good brother risking his life, how can I just stand by and watch? So you really misunderstood me." These words could deceive a 3-year-old child. However, if he wanted to use these words to fool Lin Feng naturally wouldn't believe these words. But now, Lin Feng was too lazy to bother with these things with Taoist Wuliang. He said, "Our top priority now is to find the Chaos Gate. Let's go. Don't waste time here." Taoist Wuliang nodded. After getting up from the ground, he quickly left with Lin Feng. After Lin Feng and Taoist Wuliang left, a black-robed cultivator stood on a mountain peak 3,000 meters away. That black-robed cultivator was the mysterious black-robed cultivator that appeared before. This black-robed cultivator's cultivation was incomparably terrifying, but he seemed to be scheming against Lin Feng. Or rather, he seemed to regard Lin Feng as his prey. The black-robed cultivator looked in the direction Lin Feng left and let out a sinister laugh. Then he muttered to himself, "If I let this kid die so easily, then I will lose too much fun. However, if this kid can't quickly increase his cultivation, then it will be too boring. This also means that this kid doesn't have the qualifications for me to continue paying attention to him." Just now, it was this black-robed cultivator who saved Lin Feng. Then, the black-robed cultivator quickly left. However, he did not know who this person was. But what was certain was that this person was definitely a terrifying existence that was unimaginable. Over the next few days, Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang kept looking for the chaos door. But even after searching for a long time, they still couldn't find it. It was as if the chaos gate had suddenly disappeared from the world. They were not the only ones looking for the chaos gate. There were also quite a few cultivators who were searching for the primal chaos gate. However, no one was able to find the chaos gate. This situation made many people feel that something was amiss. Had the chaos gate really disappeared? If the primal chaos gate disappeared, what would happen to the cultivators who entered the primal chaos gate? Could it be that after those people obtained the opportunity, would the chaos gate appear again at that time? The cultivators who obtained the fortune would be able to leave. As for the others, they were destined to have no fate with the world within the chaos gate. Thinking about it carefully, there was indeed such a possibility. For example, the opportunities in the world behind the chaos gate might only belong to a few or a dozen people. The vast majority of cultivators were destined to miss out on these opportunities. For many people, the world inside the chaos gate was destined to be filled with countless secrets that they couldn't explore. They could only hear about the world inside the chaos gate from others. Now, Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang were a little discouraged because they couldn't find the Wonton Gate even after searching for a long time. Although Taoist Wu Liang had the method to enter the Chaos Gate, if you couldn't find the Chaos Gate, you naturally wouldn't be able to enter the Chaos Gate. However, Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang didn't give up. They felt that there might still be a chance to find the Chaos Gate. On this day, they saw a person. This person was none other than the Red World Fairy. Previously, when the Red World Fairy was fighting with the three great emperors, Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang had watched from afar for a while. With such tyrannical strength, the three great emperors couldn't do anything to the Red World Fairy. They really didn't know how tyrannical the Red World Fairy was. Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang were delighted when they saw the Red World Fairy. There was no reason for a powerful existence like the Red World Fairy to not enter the Chaos Gate after arriving in the Chaos Ancient Country. However, the Red World Fairy didn't enter the world inside the Chaos Gate. The Red World Fairy would definitely find a way to enter the world inside the Chaos Gate. If they followed the Red World Fairy, they might be able to find a way to enter the world inside the Chaos Gate. Thus, they followed behind Venerable Immortal Hongchen. Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang hoped that the Red World Fairy could find the Chaos Gate. When the time came, they would also benefit from it. Taoist Wu Liang knew the way to enter the world inside the Chaos Gate. As long as they could find the Chaos Gate, Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang could also enter the world inside the Chaos Gate. The Red World Fairy had already noticed Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang. However, the Red World Fairy didn't greet Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang. Of course, she didn't chase them away. Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang didn't know what the Red World Fairy was thinking. Therefore, they didn't rush up to greet the Red World Fairy. The Red World Fairy glanced at Lin Feng from time to time, and her gaze was somewhat meaningful. Lin Feng could feel that the Red World Fairy was looking at him with a strange gaze. However, Lin Feng didn't know what the Red World Fairy's gaze meant. It was a strange feeling, but he couldn't tell what kind of feeling it was. Taoist Wu Liang raised his eyebrows. When Lin Feng had the strand of red dust, Taoist Wu Liang already knew. Originally, Taoist Wu Liang thought that the Red World Fairy was likely to kill Lin Feng to pass the Great Emperor Tribulation. Then, she would become a Great Emperor Realm expert. However, the Red World Fairy obviously didn't take this path. Moreover, as the Red World Fairy broke through to the Great Emperor Realm, the strand of red dust on Lin Feng's wrist disappeared. With the disappearance of the strand of red dust, it seemed to mean that Lin Feng and the Red World Fairy no longer had anything to do with each other. However, Taoist Wu Liang had another feeling. The disappearance of the strand of red dust didn't break the bond between Lin Feng and the Red World Fairy. On the contrary, it connected the two of them even more closely. Taoist Wu Liang was also very puzzled as to why he had such a strange feeling. However, Taoist Wu Liang had always been extremely confident in his feelings. I really don't know how this kid got involved with the Red World Fairy. Taoist Wu Liang couldn't help but mutter in his heart. It was precisely because of the special relationship between Lin Feng and the Red World Fairy that Taoist Wu Liang was now following the Red World Fairy without a trace of fear. Chapter 2931. Soon, Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang confirmed one thing. The Red World Fairy was indeed looking for the Chaos Gate. The Red World Fairy went to many places and finally came to a distorted space-time in the northwest of the Chaos Ancient Nation. There was a power that could distort the world. One had to deal with it carefully. Otherwise, it was very likely to be a disaster. There were even space-time cracks in many places. Terrifying space-time power surged out from the cracks. If one was hit by the space-time power, it would be an extremely terrifying thing. This place was extremely dangerous. Even with Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang's means every step they took made them tremble with fear. They were afraid that they would die here. However, such a place did not seem to be a threat to the Red World Fairy. The Red World Fairy stepped into the depths. No matter what dangerous things happened, the Red World Fairy would easily resolve them. In the deepest part of this distorted world, an ancient immortal gate lay between heaven and earth. It emitted the power to distort space-time. That ancient immortal gate was the Chaos Gate that had disappeared for a while. It turned out that the Chaos Gate did not really disappear. It was just hiding here and did not go out. Immortal Venerable Hong Chen walked towards the primal Chaos Gate, mumbling something under her breath. Kacha! Kacha! The Chaos Gate opened on its own. The Red World Fairy entered the Chaos Gate. Lin Feng and the boundless Taoist priest wanted to follow them, but the primal chaos door closed quickly. These great emperors used different methods to enter the Chaos Gate. Some used brute force to open the Chaos Gate. Some of them had mastered some special techniques. Lin Feng looked at Taoist Wu Liang and said, "Taoist, it's time for you to shine." Taoist Wu Liang nodded and then began to chant. As he chanted an incantation, he formed a series of hand seals, which all flew into the interior of the primal Chaos Gate. Lin Feng admired Taoist Wu Liang. This guy really had a lot of tricks up his sleeve. In fact, Lin Feng had been suspecting the origins of the immeasurable Taoist all these years. Previously, Wu Liang Taoist had told Lin Feng that he was a descendant of the mountain-moving Taoist. However, Lin Feng felt that Wu Liang Taoist's origin might not be that simple. However, it was as difficult as ascending to the heavens to find out these things from the immeasurable Taoist. As the runes entered the gate of primal chaos, the gate of primal chaos opened. The primal chaos gate rumbled. Loud rumbling sounds could be heard. Next, the gate of chaos gradually opened. When Lin Feng saw this scene, shock and emotion filled his face. The immeasurable Taoist was simply too powerful. After about 15 minutes, the chaos gate opened. Let's go! Without any delay, Lin Feng and Taoist Wuliang soared into the sky and flew towards the chaos gate. After that, they successfully entered the world inside the chaos gate. Whoosh! A light flashed before his eyes. The world spun. After that, Lin Feng and the Taoist priest realized they were surrounded by a powerful strength. They were pulled into another space and time. When Lin Feng and the Taoist priest opened their eyes, they saw a strange scene. They found themselves in the sky. Boom! A devastating shockwave surged over as a battle between emperors broke out in the sky. 5 emperors were besieging the Red World Fairy. Among these 5 emperors, there was Shun Qi, the evil Xing Emperor, and the heaven-devouring Python Emperor. Previously, when these 3 emperors besieged the Red World Fairy, they were unable to do anything to the Red World Fairy. Now, there were 2 more emperors. One of them was the Sky Devil race's Sky Devil Saint. This person seemed to be Gong Xinye's savior. His cultivation base was unfathomable. He was also an emperor from the ancient era, someone from the same era as Shun Qi. The other emperor was the sacred god race's emperor. This person's name was Sheng Daoxuan. He was one of the 2 emperors that came from the sacred god race. As the number 1 race, the sacred god race's emperor's cultivation base was even more terrifying. The 5 emperors besieged the Red World Fairy, causing the heavens to crumble and the earth to crack. Lin Feng and Taoist Wuliang landed not far from the battle. The terrifying shockwaves blasted towards them. Lin Feng quickly took out the Heavenly Mystery Treasure Pagoda to protect the 2. Bang! Following the violent collision, Lin Feng and Taoist Wuliang were sent flying. Even with the protection of the Heavenly Mystery Treasure Pagoda, they were still sent flying by the shockwaves of the 6 emperors' battle. Both of them spat out mouthfuls of blood. Damn, the shockwaves of these guys' battle are so terrifying. Lin Feng's expression was gloomy. Fortunately, he and Taoist Wuliang did not die from the shockwaves of the 6 emperors' battle. The Red World Fairy, on account of the heavens' benevolence, hand over that item, and we will spare your life today. If you continue to be stubborn, no one will be able to save your life. Sheng Daoxuan said coldly. What is it? Lin Feng and Taoist Wuliang exchanged glances. When Shun Qi and the others besieged the Red World Fairy, they seemed to have mentioned this matter. Now that Sheng Daoxuan also mentioned this matter, they could not help but feel puzzled. It must be an extraordinary item. Otherwise, these emperors would not have schemed so hard to deal with the Red World Fairy. If you want it, we'll have to see if you have the ability to do so. The Red World Fairy's voice was cold. She seemed to have always been a woman dressed as a man. She was pretty and moving. However, no one dared to underestimate the Red World Fairy. Even though she had not been a great emperor for long, even Shun Qi, celestial demon saint Sheng Daoxuan, and the others who had entered the great emperor realm in the ancient era could not help but feel apprehensive. Omnidirectional killing Dao. Sheng Daoxuan's voice was cold as he launched a powerful attack on the Red World Fairy. Following that, the other 4 great emperors also attacked. Ancient Demon 9 Strikes, Sky Devouring, Sky Dominating Demon Fist, Toppling Mountains, and Overturning Seas. The 5 great emperors' abilities were very powerful. Facing an expert like the Red World Fairy, the 5 great emperors did not hold back at all. They directly used their most powerful abilities to attack the Red World Fairy. After all, the Red World Fairy has just broken through to the Great Emperor realm. It's already extremely difficult for her to resist the siege of 5 great emperors in a short period of time. Now that the 5 great emperors have surrounded her and sealed off the void, it's obvious that they want to trap and kill the Red World Fairy. Lin Feng's expression could not help but turn solemn. He naturally hoped that the Red World Fairy could survive this calamity. However, the Red World Fairy's current situation was extremely dangerous. If she was not careful, she could be killed by the 5 great emperors. Daoist Wu Liang nodded and said, "The Red World Fairy is indeed in great trouble. I don't know if she can break out of the siege. If she can't, I'm afraid this heaven-defying monster will fall here." Chapter 2932. A person like the Red World Fairy was monstrous to an indescribable degree. But no matter how monstrous she was, it hadn't been long since she broke through to the Great Emperor realm. Her realm was still at the early stage of the Great Emperor realm. It was already heaven-defying for the Red World Fairy to be able to resist the siege of 5 great powerhouses. But the 5 great powerhouses wanted to engage in a war of attrition with the Red World Fairy and wear her down to death. Just like now, the 5 great powerhouses used powerful divine abilities on the Red World Fairy from a long distance. They were constantly exhausting the Red World Fairy's spiritual power. A battle of their level was also extremely taxing on their spiritual power. Once they saw that the Red World Fairy's spiritual power was running out. At that time, what awaited the Red World Fairy might be a thunderous attack. At that time, the Red World Fairy was destined to die under the siege of the 5 great powerhouses. Lin Feng and Daoist Wu Liang wanted to help the Red World Fairy, but they didn't have the strength. A battle of this level was not something they could participate in. The divine abilities of the 5 great powerhouses were terrifying to the extreme. They turned into a torrent of attacks that flooded the Red World Fairy. Just as those powerful attacks were about to land on Venerable Hong Chen's body, Venerable Hong Chen's hands began to form a series of hand seals. One after another, a series of hand seals were condensed and formed. Immediately after, immortal Venerable Hong Chen unleashed a powerful divine ability. This divine ability was called Eternal Immortality Stellar Transposition. When the 5 divine abilities bombarded, those divine abilities were all reflected back and then bombarded the 5 great powerhouses. This ability was very terrifying. Lin Feng remembered that the Great Control Art, Great Reflection Art, and Great Transference Art of the 3,000 Great Tao could all transform the opponent's attack into one's own, and then attack the opponent. Previously, Daoist Wu Liang used the 3 pure talismans to attack Sacred Scorpion Evil Lord. The Evil Scorpion Lord also used a powerful technique. The Holy Scorpion Evil Lord controlled the attacks of the 3 pure talismans and used them to deal with the immeasurable Daoist. However, regardless of whether it was the Great Control Technique, the Great Reflection Technique, the Great Teleportation Technique, or the unknown divine ability that the Evil Scorpion Lord used, none of them were able to do what the Red World Fairy did. She was able to control 5 of the other party's supernatural powers. It was simply unbelievable, although the Great Control Technique, Great Reflection Technique, and other divine abilities were powerful. Being able to control one of the opponent's divine abilities was already not bad. After all, this wasn't about neutralizing the opponent's attack. Instead, it controlled the opponent's attack and manipulated the opponent's attack to kill the cultivator who used this divine ability. This was simply too difficult to accomplish. 5 types of divine abilities blasted toward the 5 experts. The 5 experts couldn't help but roar in anger as they quickly dodged the attacks of the divine abilities. The Red World Fairy is really amazing. Seeing this scene, Lin Feng, an immeasurable Taoist, couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. The Red World Fairy might not be able to compare to Shen Chui, Sky Demon Sage, Sheng Daoxuan, and the others in terms of the amount of magic power. However, the Red World Fairy had grasped too many divine abilities, and her great Tao foundation was simply too strong. Therefore, the Red World Fairy definitely had very high attainments in terms of attack. However, the only flaw was that she couldn't continuously use such powerful attacks. This was because these powerful attacks consumed a lot of her magic power. The 5 experts sealed this place. In fact, they didn't want to quickly kill the Red World Fairy. They just wanted to slowly torture the Red World Fairy to death. Lin Feng, an immeasurable Taoist, could see this. The Red World Fairy could naturally see this as well. The Red World Fairy said in a cold voice, "Today, I will let you have a taste of my self-created mortal heavenly technique." As soon as her voice fell, the Red World Fairy stepped forward in the void. 3,000 threads of mortal worries. Even immortals have worries. Myriad worlds as mortal dust. I control the Tao of mortal dust. 3,000 eras, 3,000 Taos. I will create a new Tao. Suddenly, the Red World Fairy's voice resounded between heaven and earth. Her voice was filled with a sense of holiness. At this moment, Lin Feng suddenly felt that the Red World Fairy was like the ruler of all worlds. All living things living in the mortal dust world were ruled by the Red World Fairy. 3,000 eras, 3,000 Taos. This was the order of heaven and earth formed by each era. No one could break this shackle. But now, the Red World Fairy was actually going to create a new Tao. Outside of the 3,000 Taos, she was going to create another mortal great Tao. What kind of courage was this? What kind of faith was this? What kind of mind was this? What kind of confidence was this? Only then could she firmly believe that she could break through the shackles of the 3,000 Taos of the 3,000 eras. She was going to create the 3,001st Great Tao. This person is crazy. Taoist Wu Liang took a deep breath and said he was not the only one who felt that the Red World Fairy was crazy. Even the 5 great experts felt that the Red World Fairy was crazy. The Red World Fairy wanted to break through the shackles of heaven and earth and create the 3,001st Great Tao. This was the Tao that the Red World Fairy wanted to walk. This was also the grand vision of the Red World Fairy. If she succeeded, the Red World Fairy would definitely become one of the greatest existences in this era, or even across the 3,000 eras. If she failed, the Red World Fairy would definitely be consigned to eternal damnation and die without a grave. And this was such a difficult task. No matter how one looked at it, it did not seem like something that could succeed. It was really too difficult. Can I also walk the same Tao as the Red World Fairy? However, a thought lingered in Lin Feng's mind. The Red World Fairy's madness had given Lin Feng an inspiration. If the Red World Fairy could walk such a path, why couldn't he? Too many experts had appeared in this world. However, these experts had gradually fallen in the long river of history. Many of them had long since been forgotten. Perhaps only someone like the Red World Fairy could walk a heaven-defying Tao. Only then could one be eternal. One could even walk towards eternal life. At this moment, the Red World Fairy's mortal heavenly art had finished brewing. Boom, 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 boom. The Red World Fairy sent out 5 palm strikes in a row. These were the 5 palm strikes sent out by the mortal heavenly art. It was called the Mortal Heavenly Art. It contained the Red World Fairy's supreme great Tao. These 5 palm strikes enveloped 5 great emperors. Then, they blasted toward the 5 great emperors. Sensing the terrifying power of the Mortal Heavenly Art, the 5 great emperors' expressions changed drastically. The 5 great emperors hurriedly took out their defensive magic treasures to block the Red World Fairy's attack. Kacha! 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 However, their defensive magic treasures were destroyed one after another. The 5 great emperors hurriedly used their divine abilities to block. Bang! 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 With 5 violent collisions, the 5 great emperors were all sent flying. The body of Great Emperor Xiexing, who had the weakest cultivation, exploded. Chapter 29:33. Both Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang were in disbelief at the sight before them. It was simply too unbelievable. They found it hard to believe that what they were seeing was real. How powerful were the 5 great emperors when they joined forces? Yet, they were defeated by the Red World Fairy with a single self-created divine ability. The secular heavenly technique. What level of Tao was this? It was simply too terrifying. It could only be described as shocking. You, Sheng Daoshuan, Shun Chuyi, celestial demon saint, and the great emperor of the heaven-devouring python race all pointed at the Red World Fairy in shock. They were unwilling to believe what had just happened, but what could they do? Everything that had happened before them was real. The combat strength that the Red World Fairy had displayed was simply unimaginable. It was so powerful that it made them pale in fright. The 4 great emperors did not dare to stay any longer. They turned around and quickly fled into the distance. The evil execution Great Emperor's injuries were too severe. His physical body had exploded, leaving only his soul and origin. When the 4 great emperors fled, the evil execution Great Emperor's soul and origin turned into a ray of demonic light and quickly fled into the distance. The Red World Fairy did not chase after them. After the 5 great emperors left, the Red World Fairy also quickly left. The Red World Fairy must have consumed a lot of energy after using the secular heavenly technique. That's why she doesn't have the energy to chase after those fellows who escaped. Taoist Wu Liang said. Lin Feng nodded. He agreed with what Taoist Wu Liang said. The power of the Red World Fairy's secular heavenly technique was simply too terrifying. How could such a terrifying divine ability be used casually? Once it was used, the consumption of energy on the body would be extremely shocking. After the Red World Fairy left, Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang chose a direction and quickly headed in it. The two of them kept talking about the Red World Fairy along the way. At the same time, he speculated what level the Red World Fairy's combat power had reached. The Red World Fairy was such a heaven-defying character that only appeared once in 100 million years. A terrifying figure like immortal Venerable Hong Chun had appeared before the end of this era. Moreover, immortal Venerable Hong Chun was a human cultivator. This was naturally something worthy of celebration. Roar! A low roar came from afar. Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang looked over and saw a white tiger. The saint beast white tiger's aura was overwhelming. When they saw the white tiger, their faces almost turned green. A creature like the white tiger was definitely one of the most terrifying saint beasts and was known for its slaughter. The aura of the white tiger in the distance was too terrifying. It was definitely in the Great Emperor realm. Let's go. Without a second thought, the two of them turned around and fled. In the following part of their journey, they encountered the vermilion bird, Qingluan, Kuan-Peng, Tianwu, Qi-Yan, and other terrifying beings. Each of these beings had the power to destroy heaven and earth. They were so powerful that it was shocking. Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang encountered danger several times and almost died at the hands of these beings. They were trapped in the forest and could not leave because there were too many terrifying beasts. Even great emperors couldn't go out alone. It was too dangerous. The slightest carelessness could lead to death. Have we entered the nest of the beasts? Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang smiled bitterly. They were in trouble now. There was more than one terrifying beast looking for them, wanting to devour them, if not for their incredible speed and the fact that the beasts chasing them were wary of other beasts. They would not have easily stepped into the territory of other beasts. Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang might have been killed by the beasts here. I really don't know how these beasts cultivate, Taoist Wu Liang said with a gloomy expression. Lin Feng said, this means that there are countless opportunities in the world inside the primal chaos gate. Otherwise, these beasts would not be so powerful. Taoist Wu Liang nodded. It was indeed as Lin Feng had said. However, when he thought of their situation, Taoist Wu Liang was speechless. We are now trapped in the beast nest. If we can't find a way to escape, we will really become food for these beasts. Lin Feng said, I have been studying the innate 8 trigrams all these years. Let me do a divination. Innate 8 trigrams, you know about them? Taoist Wu Liang's eyes lit up. I know a little about them. Lin Feng said, did you obtain Fushi's inheritance? Taoist Wu Liang looked at Lin Feng sneakily. Lin Feng said, I only obtained a few scrolls of the Qi Huang technique. They are somewhat related to the innate 8 trigrams. Taoist Wu Liang did not doubt Lin Feng's words. How could Fushi's inheritance be so easy to obtain? If Fushi's inheritance really appeared, it would definitely cause a huge commotion. However, there had been no commotion so far, which meant that Fushi's inheritance had yet to appear. Lin Feng began using the divination techniques he had learned. He took out a jade tube and placed the 3 tortoiseshell inside. Then he shook the jade tube while chanting an incantation. When the incantation was over, Lin Feng scattered the tortoiseshell on the ground. Lin Feng squatted on the ground and carefully studied the tortoiseshell's meaning. Taoist Wu Liang asked, how is it? What does the divination say? Lin Feng said, the divination says that we should head southwest. That is the path to survival. Then Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang headed southwest together. A day later, they saw a valley in front of them filled with black fog. The valley was emitting shocking fluctuations. It was as if some kind of treasure had appeared. Brother, not only did your divination find a path to survival for us, but it also found an opportunity. Taoist Wu Liang praised. Lin Feng said with a smile, it's just a small trick. It's not worth mentioning. The two of them quickly rushed toward the valley, wanting to see what was going on in the valley. They wanted to see if there was really an opportunity. When they arrived at the periphery of the valley, they saw a cultivator sitting cross-legged in the valley. This cultivator was cultivating. The void around this cultivator was distorted. It turned out that it was not the birth of a treasure, but the fluctuations caused by this cultivator's cultivation. Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang knew this cultivator. It was none other than the evil emperor. Previously, his physical body had been shattered by the red world fairy's palm. Only his origin and soul had escaped. Now, the evil emperor seemed to be rebuilding his physical body, and he was about to succeed. How about we kill this guy? Lin Feng looked at Taoist Wu Liang. The evil emperor was the 9-headed insect race's great emperor. He had killed countless innocent people in the 9 states. These great emperors of the 10,000 races deserved to be killed. Now was the best chance to kill the evil emperor. Chapter 2934. Hearing Lin Feng's suggestion, Wu Liang Taoist rolled his eyes and said, how can it be so easy to kill a great emperor? Even if this great emperor is severely injured if he counterattacks before he dies, he can still cause unimaginable damage. Lin Feng naturally understood what Wu Liang Daoist was worried about. However, if they missed this opportunity, they wouldn't be able to find a second one in a short period of time. Lin Feng said, "Injure his soul and prevent him from recovering. This way, the evil execution Great Emperor might suffer a backlash. When that time comes, we'll have a great chance." Wu Liang Daoist frowned. They could try Lin Feng's method, but it was hard to say if it would succeed. "We still have the Heavenly Mystery Pagoda to protect us. If we fail, we can just run away. With the Heavenly Mystery Pagoda's defensive power and the evil execution Great Emperor's current state, it's almost impossible for him to deal with us." Lin Feng said. Lin Feng's suggestion to deal with the evil execution Great Emperor was indeed not Wu Liang Daoist style. Wu Liang Daoist had always been the kind of person who silently made a fortune. He would never take the initiative to put himself in danger. However, today, Wu Liang Daoist planned to take a gamble with Lin Feng. Wu Liang Daoist's thoughts were very simple. He also hated the cultivators of the myriad races. Now that he had a chance to kill the myriad race's great emperor, he could indeed give it a try. In addition to this reason, Wu Liang Daoist was also very interested in the things in the evil execution Great Emperor's storage ring. Although the evil execution Great Emperor was only in the divine emperor realm, he was still a great emperor. An expert of this realm would have countless treasures on him. In addition, the evil execution Great Emperor's source was also very attractive to Wu Liang Daoist. The Great Emperor's source had a significant effect on cultivation. If he could kill the evil execution Great Emperor, then he would be able to obtain the Great Emperor's source. When the time came, he would split into two with Lin Feng. Everyone would be able to obtain a part of the Great Emperor's source. If they refined the Great Emperor's source, their cultivation would also be greatly improved. Thinking of this, Wu Liang Daoist said, "All right, for the sake of the world, for the sake of the innocent people in the 9 states, I will shed my blood today and fight a great emperor to the death." Wu Liang Daoist almost described himself as a savior. Said Lin Feng, "I'll attack his soul first. If I manage to injure his soul, we'll attack him like a thunderbolt. If I fail, we'll run away." Wu Liang Daoist nodded and said, "No problem." The two of them carefully sneaked into the valley. They did not get too close to the evil execution emperor. He is the great emperor's to protect the great heaven's great emperor. Lin Feng and the boundless Taoist priest were worried that Great Emperor Xiexing would notice them if they got too close. Lin Feng started using Lu Ya's stargazing map. This was a top-notch soul divine ability passed down by Taoist Lu Ya. Its might was extremely terrifying. Back then, Lu Xian had relied on this to turn the tables and kill Huangfu Qingtian in a life-and-death battle. Over the years, Lu Ya's, Therefore, Lin Feng trusted Lu Ya's. This time, Lin Feng used Lu Ya's. He hoped to use this to severely injure the Great Emperor's soul. Buzz. Lu Ya condensed the star chart, and a Dao chart flew out. It quickly slashed towards the cultivating evil Xing Great Emperor. When the Dao diagram was 10 meters away from the Great Emperor. At this moment, the space around the Great Emperor distorted, blocking the Dao diagram's advance. However, the Dao diagram was very powerful. It pierced through the distorted space and instantly arrived in front of the Great Emperor. Then, it flew into the Great Emperor's mind. "It's done." Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Lu Ya's. It was even more extraordinary than he had imagined. This unprecedented divine ability displayed an extremely terrifying power. "Ah, The evil execution emperor, who was in the middle of cultivating, let out an incomparably shrill cry. He had reached the critical moment of his cultivation. However, he was severely injured at this moment. He could not help but vomit blood. His face was as pale as paper. The great emperor failed to reconstruct his body. His body was on the verge of collapse. Why did this happen? The evil execution emperor roared furiously. He was about to succeed in reconstructing his body, but his cultivation state was interrupted. He also suffered a backlash. The injuries on his body were more serious than before. This made the evil execution emperor almost go crazy. Kill! Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Yang quickly charged toward the great emperor. The great emperor was suffering from a backlash. His aura was chaotic. It was the best opportunity to kill him. When the great emperor's aura fully recovered, by then it would be much more difficult to kill him. It's you two ants. The great emperor's face twisted when he saw Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Yang. When the 5 great emperors were attacking the Red World Ferry, Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Yang suddenly appeared at the periphery of the battle. Naturally, this matter could not be hidden from the great emperor. However, the great emperor did not care about Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Yang. In his opinion, Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Yang were just 2 ants. How could they be worthy of his attention? But now, those 2 human cultivators, whom he had regarded as ants, had actually managed to harm his soul. Moreover, they had interrupted his cultivation state, causing him to fail in reconstructing his body. His body also suffered a backlash. The great emperor wanted to cut Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Yang into pieces. Hee, you regard us as ants, but we regard you as prey. Die! Lin Feng's voice was extremely cold. 2 stone swords appeared in the sky. At the same time, the heavenly mystery pagoda flew out to protect Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Yang. Lin Feng also released his magnetic field. The magnetic field, formed by 3 layers of qi, enveloped the great emperor. The great emperor was suffering from a backlash. His battle strength had been greatly reduced. Even someone as powerful as him was greatly reduced after being enveloped by Lin Feng's magnetic field. Moreover, the great emperor's battle strength had been reduced by a few % by Lin Feng's magnetic field. Immeasurable, heavenly venerate my ass. Die for this, grandpa. Taoist Wu Yang shouted. He waved his sleeve, and a treasure flew out. That treasure was a blood-colored ruler that emitted a terrifying demonic aura. Chapter 29:35. A devil weapon at the immortal level. When Lin Feng saw the Taoist priest's treasure, he was astonished. This damn Taoist indeed had a lot of treasures, but he didn't usually show them off. He loved to pretend to be a pig, to eat a tiger. When Lin Feng and the boundless Taoist priest joined hands, they were terrifying. The evil execution, the arch used a divine ability called Snow Heaven and Earth. This mystique was extremely powerful. After it was unleashed, snow began to fall from the sky. Each snowflake contained endless murderous intent. The dense snowflakes flew towards Lin Feng and the Taoist. Clank, clank, clank. After a series of violent collisions, Lin Feng and the Taoist treasures were stopped by the emperor's technique. The emperor's technique was truly frightening. Lin Feng and the Taoist couldn't help but be shocked. Emperors were indeed not easy to deal with. Even though the evil execution emperor's battle prowess was far from his peak, he could still display astonishing battle prowess. Lin Feng and the Taoist treasures were blown away by the snowflakes. The snowflakes enveloped Lin Feng and the Taoist as if they were supreme treasures falling from the sky. At this time, the heavenly profound pagoda displayed its powerful defensive power and blocked the snowflakes outside. However, there were too many snowflakes. They continuously bombarded the pagoda's defensive barrier. If this continued, the pagoda's defensive barrier would be destroyed sooner or later. At that time, Lin Feng and the Taoist would have to face the emperor directly. The situation would be even more dangerous then. The Taoist said, "This guy's body has been destroyed, and he has failed to reconstruct it. His body is in a crumbling state. If we can get close, we can definitely injure him." Lin Feng noticed this as well. However, it wasn't easy to get close to the emperor. The emperor clearly knew where his weakness was. That was why he chose to use a powerful technique to suppress Lin Feng and the Taoist. "Let's go and kill this guy." Lin Feng gritted his teeth and rushed towards the emperor with the Taoist. However, when the emperor saw Lin Feng and the Taoist rushing towards him, he chose to retreat. He continued to increase the distance between himself and Lin Feng and the Taoist. This shameless bastard, Lin Feng and the Taoist rolled their eyes. "If you have the ability, then fight me with your fists." Taoist Wu Liang shouted, "As a grand emperor, you only know how to dodge. Don't you feel ashamed?" Lin Feng sneered. The evil execution emperor sneered. "Don't think that I don't know what you're planning. I've walked on more bridges than you've walked on. Do you think that I'll let you do whatever you want? Right now, I only want to kill you. As long as I eat your flesh and soul essences, I'll be able to recover quickly. By then, my reconstructed body will be even stronger." After the emperor finished speaking, he summoned an even more violent snowstorm to attack Lin Feng and the Taoist. Every single snowflake contained unimaginable power. Although the evil Qing Great Emperor looked extremely weak during his battle with Immortal Venerable Red Dust, he was still able to defeat Immortal Venerable Red Dust. However, that was because Immortal Venerable Hongchen was simply too powerful. How could an existence like the evil Execution Emperor be weak? Clang, 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 a series of violent collisions were heard. The snowflakes bombarded the defensive light barrier formed by the Heavenly Mystery Pagoda. The defensive light barrier formed by the Heavenly Mystery Pagoda was weakening. Cracking sounds could be heard one after another. Cracks began to appear on the defensive barrier of the Heavenly Mystery Pagoda. Under the Emperor's attacks, the Heavenly Mystery Pagoda's defense was about to be destroyed. Seeing this, Lin Feng's expression darkened. "There's another way. Maybe I can use the Shifter Emperor's small world to deal with the Emperor." Lin Feng thought of another way. His eyes flashed with ruthlessness. He planned to devour the Emperor and put him into the Shifter Emperor's small world. But once he did that, Lin Feng wouldn't have a chance to escape. He had to fight the Emperor to the death. Lin Feng couldn't think of any other way to deal with the Emperor. He decided to take a gamble. "Shifter Emperor's small world, come out." Lin Feng summoned the Shifter Emperor's small world. With a loud rumble, the Shifter Emperor's small world flew out. Then, the Shifter Emperor's small world released a powerful devouring power that enveloped the Emperor. The Emperor couldn't resist the devouring power of the Shifter Emperor's small world and was swallowed by it. "Go to the Shifter Emperor's small world and kill him." Lin Feng said, "You actually have a complete small world on you. Immeasurable, heavenly sovereign my ass. How many more treasures do you have that I don't know about?" Taoist Wu Liang suddenly shouted with a look of envy and jealousy. He looked at the Shifter Emperor's small world with a greedy gaze. Clearly, he wanted to take it for himself. This was in line with Immeasurable Taoist's personality of wanting to snatch any treasure he saw. Immeasurable Taoist also flew into the Shifter Emperor's small world. "Oh, a small world? Who are you? You have so many treasures on you." The Emperor looked at Lin Feng in surprise. Great Emperor Xie was jealous of Lin Feng's treasures. He knew that Lin Feng's identity wasn't simple. You want to know my identity? Go to hell and ask the king of hell. Lin Feng's expression was indifferent. He began to activate the power of the Shifter Emperor's small world. Clanking sounds could be heard, like chains colliding with each other. Thick laws of order appeared one after another. They were densely packed and countless. The laws of order all wrapped around the emperor. At the same time, Lin Feng, an immeasurable Taoist, both took out their powerful magic treasures and attacked the emperor. The evil Xing emperor sneered in disdain. Do you think you can deal with me just because you've swallowed me into this small world? It's laughable and stupid. Today, I'll let you know that no matter how much you resist, ants are still ants in front of a giant dragon. As soon as he finished speaking, the emperor made a series of hand seals. Snow, come, the emperor roared. Suddenly, a blizzard swept through the world. At this moment, the snowstorm was more than 10 times stronger than before, and its power was also more than 10 times stronger. Chapter 2936. The evil execution emperor was simply too terrifying. He had clearly been hiding his strength before. Now, he was finally showing his true strength. Such terrifying battle prowess was truly unheard of. Sensing the terrifying fluctuations surging out of the evil execution emperor's body, Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang couldn't help but take a deep breath. They had no way out now. If they fought the evil execution emperor, only one of them would survive. Hence, the two of them didn't hold back. Lin Feng had also summoned the two ghost emperors. Now, the four of them were attacking the evil execution emperor together. Snowflakes fell from the sky. Every snowflake contained boundless killing intent. The terrifying killing intent was enough to shock anyone. The emperor's attack was absolutely terrifying to the point of being horrifying. When the snowflakes bombarded Lin Feng, Taoist Wu Liang, and the two ghost emperors, the space around the four of them distorted, and the snowflakes were devoured by the distorted space. In the Shifter Emperor's small world, Lin Feng was the ruler. He could display many abilities that couldn't be displayed in the outside world. Humph! The evil execution emperor couldn't help but sneer. You're quite powerful, but it's useless. Even if you can temporarily block my attack, how long can you last? The evil execution emperor's expression was cold. He waved his right hand, and beams of cold light flew out like sharp swords. The cold light slashed at the laws of order that were entangling him. The laws of order were destroyed by the evil execution emperor one after another. At this moment, the evil execution emperor was simply the synonym of invincibility. Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang couldn't help but feel a trace of despair. However, the two of them weren't people who would give up so easily. They were still thinking of a way to deal with the evil execution emperor. Suddenly, a thought flashed through Lin Feng's mind. He thought of a treasure he had obtained. In the past, Lin Feng had obtained an immortal binding rope. The immortal binding rope could suddenly explode in a short distance, and it could bind any cultivator. It was rumored that the immortal binding rope was an immortal artifact. It was a treasure refined by Taishang Laojun. Taishang Laojun was one of the three pure ones, the ancestor of Taoism. Thus, one could imagine how terrifying the magic weapons he smithied were. However, the immortal binding rope that Lin Feng obtained was not the one forged by Taishang Laojun. The immortal binding rope he obtained was a replica. It was a supreme treasure forged by later cultivators using the exact same materials to imitate the immortal binding rope. Although it was not as powerful as Taishang Laojun's immortal binding rope, it was still very powerful. But it was also extremely terrifying. It was extremely powerful. If he could get close to the evil execution emperor, if he suddenly took out the immortal binding rope, he might be able to bind the evil execution emperor. He only needed to trap the evil execution emperor for a few breaths. Lin Feng was able to kill the evil emperor. It was almost impossible to get close to the evil execution emperor in the outside world. However, in the Shifter Thearka's small world, Lin Feng could make the impossible possible. This was because he could control the laws in the Shifter Thearka's small world. Lin Feng could practically teleport in the Shifter Thearka's small world. Thus, he had a certain chance of getting close to the evil execution emperor. Help me restrain the evil execution emperor. I'll deal with him. Lin Feng looked at the immeasurable Taoist and the two ghost emperors. In order to prevent the evil execution emperor from hearing him, he chose to communicate with the three of them through voice transmission. The two ghost emperors obeyed Lin Feng's orders. They naturally did not dare to disobey Lin Feng's orders. The immeasurable Taoist asked, "Have you found a way to deal with the evil execution emperor?" "There is a way. It's hard to say whether it will succeed or not, but it's worth a try," Lin Feng said. "All right, this time I'll put in a lot of effort." As the immeasurable Taoist spoke, he took out 3 talismans. Holy **T. Seeing the talismans in the immeasurable Taoist's hand, Lin Feng rolled his eyes. They were the powerful 3 pure one's talismans. The immeasurable Taoist had said that he had used up all his 3 pure one's talismans. As expected, this guy was not telling the truth. The immeasurable Taoist immediately took out the 3 pure one's talismans. The 3 talismans of the 3 pure ones burned instantly, and then released an extremely terrifying attack. 3 dazzling balls of holy light flew out and fused together in midair. All of them charged toward the evil execution emperor. The evil execution emperor quickly retreated. However, at this moment, the explosion of holy light produced a shockwave that sent him flying. "This is my chance." Lin Feng used teleportation and rushed toward the evil execution emperor. However, when Lin Feng was 10 meters away from the evil execution emperor, he could no longer move forward. The space around the evil execution emperor distorted, preventing Lin Feng from moving forward. "Are you here to die?" When the evil execution emperor saw Lin Feng charging toward him, a murderous intent appeared at the corner of his mouth. He used his palm as a saber. The saber slashed toward Lin Feng. The dazzling saber light condensed and slashed toward Lin Feng. Lin Feng was about to be cut in half by the saber light. However, at this moment, swoosh, Lin Feng disappeared without a trace. The next moment, Lin Feng turned into a yin-yang image and appeared behind the evil execution emperor. He gradually tore apart the distorted space around the evil execution emperor and rushed in front of him. As soon as Lin Feng arrived in front of the evil execution emperor, the evil execution emperor's terrifying punch was ready. He turned around and punched Lin Feng. The punch landed on Lin Feng's chest and sent him flying. Half of his body exploded. However, as soon as Lin Feng was sent flying, the immortal binding rope flew out as well. At such a close distance, the evil execution emperor couldn't dodge the immortal binding rope's attack. The immortal binding rope quickly wrapped around the evil execution emperor, making him look like a dumpling. "Break it!" The evil execution emperor roared, trying to break free from the immortal binding rope. However, at this moment, the immeasurable Taoist and the 2 ghost emperors had already arrived. The 2 ghost emperors each held one of Lin Feng's stone swords. Puff, puff, with a tearing sound, the 2 stone swords pierced into the evil execution emperor's body and pierced through it. On the other hand, Taoist Wuliang beheaded the evil execution emperor with his blood-red ruler. What happened next made everyone's hair stand on end. The evil execution emperor didn't die even after his head was beheaded. The evil execution emperor's head spat out 3 energy balls and bombarded the immeasurable Taoist and the 2 ghost emperors, sending them flying. Then, the evil execution emperor's head was connected to his body again. A terrifying fluctuation surged out of the evil execution emperor's body. The immortal binding rope was loosening. The evil execution emperor seemed to be about to break free. The immeasurable Taoist and the two ghost emperors pounced on the evil execution emperor again. They attacked the evil execution emperor with the stone sword and the blood-red ruler, respectively. They temporarily suppressed the evil execution emperor, but it was only a matter of time before the evil execution emperor broke free from the immortal binding rope. Just as the two sides were in a stalemate, a dagger flew over quickly and pierced through the evil execution emperor's chest. The evil execution emperor looked down at the dagger that pierced through his chest. He couldn't help but scream in horror. Chapter 29:37. This dagger was a treasure that Lin Feng had obtained in the banished world. Lin Feng didn't know where this dagger came from. From the looks of it, this dagger was rusty and looked very ordinary. No one would notice it if it was thrown on the ground. But Lin Feng knew how terrifying this dagger was. The most powerful thing about this dagger was that it could suck blood. It was a blood-sucking dagger. The evil execution emperor was too powerful. His body was pierced by the stone sword, but he didn't die even after his head was chopped off. Thinking back to the time when the evil execution emperor's body was shattered by the red world fairy's palm, only his origin and soul were left. Lin Feng knew that it was too difficult to kill the evil execution emperor. It could even be described as impossible. At this moment, Lin Feng thought of the blood-sucking dagger. The blood-sucking dagger could devour flesh and blood essence. Any powerful ability required the support of one's bloodline. Of course, it didn't mean that these abilities couldn't be used without flesh and blood essence. Without flesh and blood essence, the power of these abilities would be greatly reduced. Therefore, Lin Feng took out the blood-sucking dagger to deal with the evil execution emperor. No, no, the evil execution emperor screamed in horror. He wanted to stop the blood essence in his body from being devoured by the blood-sucking dagger, but it was too late. The blood-sucking dagger's devouring power was very powerful and terrifying. It instantly devoured all the blood essence in the evil execution emperor's body. The evil execution emperor's body directly turned into a dried corpse. Crack, crack. Then his body shattered. The evil execution emperor's body was already on the verge of collapse. Therefore, it was already very difficult for him to hold on until now. Die! Taoist Wu Liang roared and charged towards the evil execution emperor again. This time, the evil execution emperor only had his origin and soul left. It was naturally much easier to deal with him. Taoist Wu Liang gritted his teeth in hatred towards the evil execution emperor. He took out a copper bell. It was actually a magic treasure made of brass. That magic treasure was very powerful and seemed to specialize in targeting cultivators' souls. Taoist Wu Liang took out the copper bell. Then, it directly devoured the evil execution emperor's soul. Let me out! Let me out! The evil execution emperor roared in anger. He wanted to get out of the bell, but he couldn't. The copper bell was too extraordinary. No one knew what kind of shocking origin it had, but it had completely trapped the evil execution emperor's soul within it. How's the negotiation going? As long as you let me go, I can tell you many secrets, such as immortal residences left behind by immortals, ancient secret realms, and so on. I can tell you everything. The evil execution emperor roared. He wanted Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang to let him go. Lin Feng sneered. As a cultivator of the 9 prefectures, everyone has the right to kill you. Do you think we will let you go? Moreover, how can we not understand the principle of letting the tiger return to the mountain. If we let you go, we will be the ones to suffer in the future. Evil Emperor, you will die today. No one will be able to save your life." Hearing Lin Feng's resolute words, the evil execution emperor knew that he wouldn't be able to escape this calamity. The evil execution emperor roared in anger. "I am a great emperor, the ruler of the world. I can't believe I will die at the hands of ants like you." Taoist Wu Liang sneered. "You think you can treat us like ants because you are strong, but you underestimate the ants in your eyes." The evil execution emperor roared. "You dare to kill me? When the time comes, you won't have a good ending. My nine-headed insect race is the royal race of the 10,000 races. We won't let ants like you go. The 10,000 races will soon rule over the 9 prefectures. At that time, you lowly and filthy humans will become the slaves of the 10,000 races again, just like before. Die!" Taoist Wu Liang was furious. He grabbed the copper bell and shook it 3 times. Ah! A mournful scream came from the bell. The evil execution emperor's soul was directly destroyed. Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang slumped to the ground. It was too difficult to kill a great emperor, even if it was just a beginner great emperor like the evil execution emperor. Moreover, it was a severely injured beginner great emperor. After this battle, Lin Feng had a better understanding of the great emperor's cultivation. It was true that those who didn't enter the great emperor realm were ants. "We finally killed this guy. It wasn't easy." Taoist Wu Liang fell to the ground, panting heavily. After the two rested for a while, Lin Feng sent the 2 ghost emperors back into the ghost raising jar. A ball of soul origin flew out of Taoist Wu Liang's bell magic treasure. It was the evil execution emperor's soul origin. A cultivator's soul origin was divided into 2 types. One was the soul origin, and the other was the great Tao origin. The soul origin was in the mind, and the great Tao origin was in the Dantian. Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang split the 2 types of evil execution emperor's soul origin into 2, apart from the evil execution emperor's origin. The 2 of them also obtained the evil execution emperor's storage ring. As for what was in the storage ring, they didn't know for now. They hadn't checked it in detail yet. "We can't stay here for long. Let's go," Taoist Wu Liang said. Lin Feng nodded. Such an intense battle here might attract other great emperors or powerful beasts. Therefore, it was not a place to stay for long. After Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang flew out of the Demon Emperor's small world, Lin Feng kept the Demon Emperor's small world in his Dantian. Then, he quickly left with Taoist Wu Liang. After Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang left, ripples appeared in the void. Then, a black-robed cultivator appeared. This black-robed cultivator was the mysterious black-robed cultivator. After the black-robed cultivator came out, another black-robed cultivator walked out. The new black-robed cultivator was a woman. She wore a veil, and her figure was tall and charming. "Tai Dao, Honorable Lord, this kid should be killed in time. He's a descendant of the sinner's blood." The female cultivator said coldly. It turned out that the black-robed cultivator was called Tai Dao, Honorable Lord. As for who he was, no one knew. "Honorable Lord Yuan Tian, don't you think it's more interesting to slowly toy with the prey until he dies?" Tai Dao, Honorable Lord said with a smile. "Just kill him to prevent future troubles," the woman called Honorable Lord Yuan Tian said. "No, no, no. That's perfect. A descendant of the sinner's blood is already very rare. It's meaningless to kill him directly. We can slowly toy with him. After he becomes stronger and learns more secrets, we can kill him when his heart is filled with hatred and hope. Wouldn't that be more interesting?" Chapter 29:38. Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Yang found a quiet place. They had two things to do. The first was to check what was in the evil Execution Emperor's storage ring. The second was to refine the evil Execution Emperor's origin to improve their strength. Lin Feng took out the evil Execution Emperor's storage ring and sent his divine sense into it. The evil Execution Emperor's storage ring was huge. It had been refined into an independent space by the evil Execution Emperor. In this space, there were piles of peerless origin crystals piled up like a mountain. These were the best origin crystals. There were also boxes of half-immortal stones. There were thousands of boxes. The price of each half-step immortal stone was extremely high. The evil Execution Emperor was a great emperor after all. The wealth, treasures, and life savings of such an expert were naturally incomparable to ordinary people. In addition to these things, there were all kinds of natural treasures, immortal fruits, and spirit essences. It was unknown how many treasures the evil Execution Emperor had collected. There were also all kinds of immortal metals, immortal stones, and so on. At a glance, there were countless of them. Lin Feng estimated that these immortal metals and immortal stones were enough to forge 500,000 to 600,000 divine artifacts. When the time came, all the dragon sect cultivators would be equipped. They would definitely be able to kill everyone. Could it be? Lin Feng found 10 spirit stones in a white jade box. They were surrounded by immortal light. They were emitting shocking energy waves. After seeing the 10 spirit stones, Lin Feng was deeply shocked. Those 10 spirit stones, they were immortal stones. Even though Lin Feng had never seen a celestial stone, he had seen a half-celestial stone. Whether it was the energy fluctuation or the purity of the energy, the half-immortal stone was far inferior to the 10 spirit stones. Mountains of half-immortal stones could grow. Lin Feng had 9 such mountains in his mountain river ring. They were constantly absorbing heaven and earth spirit chi and chi. However, it was extremely difficult for these half-immortal stones to evolve into immortal stones. It was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. It might take hundreds of millions of years to complete the transformation. This showed how precious immortal stones were. Screech! Suddenly, a chirping sound came from the depths of the ring. Lin Feng immediately discovered that there were actually 2 Qing Yuan divine birds in the depths of the storage ring. The blue Yuan was a descendant of the phoenix. Its bloodline was comparable to that of the phoenix, and it was definitely a terrifying existence. No, it's not the real green Yuan, but 2 drops of green Yuan's precious blood. Soon, Lin Feng realized that something was wrong. Those 2 blue Yuans were actually formed from the precious blood of the blue Yuan. These divine beasts and saint beasts had very little precious blood in their bodies. What was precious blood? The treasure blood was the most precious drop of blood among the divine beasts and saint beasts. One had to know that the amount of blood essence in the body was extremely small. It was already good enough for ordinary divine beasts and sacred beasts to have dozens of drops of blood essence. As for treasured blood, it was even more precious. Lin Feng released his godly awareness and surrounded the 2 phoenixes. In a flash, the 2 phoenixes turned into 2 drops of precious blue phoenix blood. Every drop of blue Yuan blood emitted a shocking fluctuation. Not only did it contain the most powerful bloodline essence of the blue Yuan, but it also contained the most powerful bloodline essence of the blue Yuan. Moreover, they also contained some of the green Yuan's memories. Perhaps the memories contained were some inheritance. Of course, it could also be some secrets. But no matter what it was, the information contained in the precious blood was the most important to the green Yuan. In fact, any divine beast or sacred beast would do the same as the green Yuan. They would store their most important memories into the most important drop of blood in their body. It would become a bloodline memory. Lin Feng continued to search in the evil execution emperor's storage ring. There were many magic treasures in the evil execution emperor's storage ring. There were at least a few thousand divine artifact level magic treasures in total. Moreover, he also had an imperial weapon. However, this imperial weapon seemed to be damaged. It couldn't fully unleash its power. In addition to the damaged emperor weapon, there was also a powerful treasure called Angel's Boots. It was a boot-type magic treasure. He didn't know what material it was made of. After wearing it, one's speed would be doubled. Lin Feng's eyes widened when he saw this treasure. This treasure was too heaven-defying. With Lin Feng's current speed, if he doubled his speed again, what kind of speed would he reach? Just thinking about it made one's heart tremble. No matter what, Lin Feng had to get this treasure. As for the damaged emperor weapon, he could give it to the immeasurable Taoist. Anyway, Lin Feng felt that he didn't lack offensive magic treasures. Instead, he lacked something that could save his life in a critical moment. And this treasure in front of him was something that could save his life in a critical moment. After Lin Feng withdrew his divine will from the storage ring, he handed it to the immeasurable Taoist so that he could check the various things inside. Seeing the various treasures piled up like a mountain, the immeasurable Taoist was so excited that he almost shouted. Then Lin Feng and the immeasurable Taoist began to distribute the treasures. Lin Feng wanted the angel's boots, a drop of green Luan blood, 5 immortal stones, all the immortal iron and divine stones, all the magic treasures except the damaged emperor weapon, and half of the half-immortal stones. The remaining items all went to the immeasurable Taoist. The immeasurable Taoist was quite satisfied with this distribution. The immortal iron, divine stones, and magic treasures weren't of much use to him. He only needed the damaged emperor weapon. After distributing the treasures, Lin Feng and the immeasurable Taoist began to refine the evil execution emperor's soul source to improve their cultivation. Lin Feng first refined the evil execution emperor's soul source. During this period of time, Lin Feng's cultivation had been constantly improving. Lin Feng's soul had also improved to the level of a boundary emperor realm cultivator who had reached the 20th step of the stone steps. This time, after absorbing great Emperor Xiexing's original soul, Lin Feng's soul had become much stronger. It was almost equivalent to a cultivator who had reached the 30th step of the stone steps. Lin Feng was naturally overjoyed that his soul power had improved so much in one go. Then Lin Feng began to refine the evil execution emperor's Tao origin. As the Tao origin was gradually refined, Lin Feng's magic power also improved by leaps and bounds. Moreover, Lin Feng discovered that the magic power in his body seemed to be transforming. This was a transformation from low-level magic power to high-level magic power. This discovery made Lin Feng very happy because this transformation meant that his magic power was transforming from giant god realm magic power to boundary emperor realm magic power. When Lin Feng finished refining all the original strengths of the great Tao, Lin Feng's combat strength had greatly improved. Lin Feng had the feeling that his battle strength had increased by at least 2 times. However, Lin Feng's glabella hadn't produced the light of calamity yet. Currently, Lin Feng's accumulation was still not enough for him to attempt to break through to the boundary emperor realm. Chapter 2939. Although he could not break through to the boundary emperor realm for the time being, Lin Feng was not discouraged. Even if the light of calamity appeared, he could not casually break through to the boundary emperor realm because Lin Feng's savings were simply too great. It was not easy to break through to the boundary emperor realm. Even ordinary cultivators would find it difficult to break through to the Boundary Emperor realm. Not to mention, Lin Feng had such a great savings. No one would doubt it if Lin Feng broke through to the Boundary Emperor realm by thousands or even tens of thousands of times. Therefore, if Lin Feng really wanted to break through to the Boundary Emperor realm, it would be as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Therefore, Lin Feng wanted to kill the Sky Demon Emperor's son and obtain his heavenly fire. With the heavenly fire, he could break through to the Boundary Emperor realm. However, the Sky Demon Emperor's son was not so easy to kill. That was because the Sky Demon Emperor's son always had many experts by his side. Moreover, there was a terrifying guardian following the Sky Demon Emperor's son. If he wanted to kill the Sky Demon Emperor's son, he had to find an opportunity when the Sky Demon Emperor's son was alone. However, this opportunity was not easy to find. Lin Feng would not break through to the Boundary Emperor realm for the time being, so he could continue to wait for such an opportunity to come. Of course, Lin Feng hoped that this opportunity would come soon. When the time came, he would kill the Sky Demon Emperor's son and obtain the Black God-Devouring Flame. After refining the Black God-Devouring Flame, not only would he break through to the Boundary Emperor realm, but he would also obtain the fifth heavenly fire. It was killing two birds with one stone. Ha 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 ha! The effect of the Emperor's origin is great. Taoist Wu Liang laughed loudly. This guy had obviously obtained a lot of benefits after refining the evil Emperor's origin, which was why he was so excited. Lin Feng's thoughts were also awakened by Taoist Wu Liang's sudden laughter. Lin Feng took out the drop of blue wan blood. He planned to study the blue wan blood. Lin Feng felt that the blue wan blood contained some secrets. If that was the case, it would be great. If Lin Feng didn't have any secrets, he would have immediately refined the precious blood of the Cyan Phoenix to increase his cultivation level. Lin Feng's spiritual will invaded the blue wan blood. Suddenly, Lin Feng felt as if he was being summoned by something. He found himself at the bottom of a huge immortal mountain. Lin Feng was incomparably shocked. This must be the scene contained within the azure Luan blood. After comprehending these images, his spiritual force invaded this world. What secret is hidden in the azure Luan blood? Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter to himself. He flew up the immortal mountain and finally landed on the peak. There was a cave abode on the peak. The words Azure Phoenix, Immortal Abode, were written on the immortal abode. Lin Feng was shocked. He actually dared to call it an immortal mansion. This should be Qing Luan's cultivation cave, right? Qing Luan had the bloodline of the phoenix and was incomparably powerful. It was indeed possible for her to cultivate into an immortal. Could it be that this cave was left behind by the immortal level Qing Luan? The Azure Luan blood Lin Feng obtained did not reach the immortal level. This was because with the passage of time, the energy within the Azure Luan blood quickly dissipated. Therefore, even if this drop of Azure Luan blood was once an immortal blood, when a large amount of energy was lost, it would gradually degenerate. In the distance, endless azure light surged between heaven and earth. Within the azure light, a Qing Luan quickly flew over. When he saw the Qing Luan, Lin Feng was shocked. This was because the Qing Luan's body had been pierced through. Fresh blood continuously flowed out from the wound. The Qing Luan had suffered an extremely serious injury. Moreover, the flame of life seemed to be extinguished. This was a fatal injury. The Qing Luan clearly could not hold on and was about to die. What kind of creature could injure the Qing Luan to this extent? Lin Feng's heart couldn't help but reveal a deep shock. The Qing Luan itself was abnormally terrifying and powerful. But now, the Qing Luan had suffered such a serious injury. Just how terrifying was the creature to be able to injure the Qing Yuan to this extent? At this moment, the void above the Qing Yuan split open and a mysterious black-robed cultivator stepped out. The black-robed cultivator's aura was too powerful. It was as if he was the ruler of heaven and earth. Lin Feng had never seen Tai Dao Honorable Lord before. If he had, he would definitely be able to sense that this black-robed cultivator's aura was extremely similar to Tai Dao Honorable Lord and Yuantian Honorable Lord. After this black-robed cultivator appeared, he attacked the Qing Yuan with a palm. The Qing Yuan tried its best to dodge, but it was unable to completely avoid this terrifying palm. A muffled sound of collision was heard. The Qing Yuan was directly sent flying. Half of its body exploded. It had suffered an extremely serious injury. The black-robed cultivator laughed sinisterly. "Honorable Qing Yuan, your time of death has come." The black-robed cultivator rushed forward to kill the Qing Yuan. At this moment, the Qing Yuan's body burned and turned into a ray of azure light that entered the immortal abode in front of it. Then, the immortal abode was sealed by a powerful restriction. "Ha ha ha! Honorable Qing Yuan, do you think you can escape this calamity by hiding in the immortal abode? Just now, I have already shattered your heart meridians. Your dermic powers will dissipate within an hour. Once your dermic powers dissipate, you will definitely die. I don't even need to do anything. Only death awaits you." The black-robed cultivator laughed loudly. He did not attack the restriction of the Qing Yuan immortal abode, as if he was afraid that he would attract the honorable Qing Yuan's companions. The black-robed cultivator did not stay for long. He rushed into the sky and disappeared without a trace. Whoosh! With a flash of light, Lin Feng returned to reality. Then a mass of information appeared in his mind. Heaven Realm, God's ocean domain, Qing Yuan Immortal Island. The inheritance of the Honorable Qing Yuan was waiting for the fated one. Lin Feng's expression suddenly changed. The secret hidden in the Qing Yuan blood was actually the inheritance of the Honorable Qing Yuan. And this inheritance was actually in the Heaven Realm. In the vast Heaven Realm, there were countless experts. Who was that black-robed cultivator who killed the Honorable Qing Yuan? His cultivation was actually so terrifying. It really made people feel unusually shocked. Heaven Realm! Heaven Realm! Sooner or later, I will go to the Heaven Realm. Lin Feng's fists could not help but clench together. The Heaven Realm was a world that everyone yearned for. Taoist Wu Liang was also sensing the drop of Qing Yuan blood that he obtained. He did not know what secret was hidden in the drop of Qing Yuan blood. Was it the same as the secret hidden in the Qing Yuan blood that he obtained? After half an hour, Taoist Wu Liang woke up. This time, Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang had a tacit understanding and did not ask each other about the secret hidden in the Qing Yuan blood. Boom! At this time, a terrifying aura filled the air and shrouded the cave that Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang were in. Chapter 2940. Just as Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang rushed out, a huge claw the size of a mountain descended from the sky, crushing the mountain they were in. Seeing this scene, Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang were horrified. They had come out just in time. If they had come out a little later, they would have died. At this moment, Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang finally saw what kind of creature it was. It was a huge two-headed crocodile. This crocodile was about 4,000 to 5,000 meters long. Its huge body was like a rolling mountain ridge. This crocodile's body emitted a terrifying wave of energy. Its two heads were ferocious and terrifying. Unlike other crocodiles, this crocodile only had one eye on each head. This was the first time Lin Feng had seen such a strange crocodile. However, Lin Feng discovered that this crocodile had one eye on each of its front claws. The missing eye on its head had appeared on its claws. It was extremely strange. What the hell is this? Is there a crocodile that looks like this? Taoist Wu Liang couldn't help but cry out. A loud rumbling sound was heard. This strange giant crocodile directly moved, and its huge tail whipped towards Taoist Wu Liang. Taoist Wu Liang wanted to dodge the crocodile's attack, but he failed in the end. With a dull bang, the crocodile's terrifying attack landed on Taoist Wu Liang's body. Then, Taoist Wu Liang was sent flying. Wah! Taoist Wu Liang spat out a mouthful of blood in midair. He had been seriously injured by this attack. Several of his bones had been broken. This crocodile was truly terrifying. Originally, Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang had landed in the nest of a group of terrifying wild beasts. This crocodile had probably been attracted by them while they were cultivating. Lin Feng quickly flew into the distance. This crocodile's strength had definitely reached the emperor level. Moreover, its strength was terrifying, and its defense was shocking. 100 of him, and Taoist Wu Liang wouldn't be a match for this crocodile. If they didn't leave now, when would they? Wait for me, the immeasurable Taoist howled in grief. As he ran, he panted heavily. Blood flowed out from his mouth and nose. Right now, Taoist Wu Liang was in a pitiful state. It was as if he had just gone through a life and death battle. Hurry up, we'll be swallowed by the crocodile if we're any slower. Lin Feng said. Although the giant crocodile's battle prowess was heaven-defying, its body was simply too huge. Such a huge body naturally couldn't gain an advantage in terms of speed. Therefore, the giant crocodile was unable to catch up to Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang. Now, that Lin Feng was wearing the angel's boots when he used the 8-directional small world. His speed was greatly increased, and Lin Feng felt that it had more than doubled. He left the immeasurable Taoist behind without a trace. After seeing giant crocodile return to his territory, Lin Feng stopped and waited for immeasurable Taoist. After immeasurable Taoist caught up, he immediately shouted, "Take it off! Quickly take off this pair of boots. I don't want that broken emperor weapon anymore. I want this pair of boots." Immeasurable Taoist originally thought that his speed was already extremely fast, and he didn't need a treasure like the angel's boots at all. But now, he felt that the angel's boots were extremely important. If he had worn the angel's boots earlier, when he was attacked by the giant crocodile, his speed would have been increased by the angel's boots. He might have been able to dodge the giant crocodile's attack. He wouldn't have to be as miserable as he was now. Lin Feng said, "The treasures have already been distributed. It's too late for you to want them now." Hearing Lin Feng's words, immeasurable Taoist rolled his eyes and said, "Big brother, take pity on me. You're already so fast, this angel's boots are useless to you. Why don't you give them to me? What do you want? Just say it. Give me the other drop of blue Luan blood, and I'll give you the angel's boots." Lin Feng said, "Why don't you go and die? Immeasurable, heavenly sovereign my ass," shouted the boundless Taoist priest angrily. He threw a kick at Lin Feng. He wanted to send Lin Feng flying to vent his frustration. However, Lin Feng nimbly dodged the attack. Plop! Immeasurable Taoist fell flat on his face. "Let's go," Lin Feng said, and quickly left the place with immeasurable Taoist. This wasn't a place they could stay for long. They tried to leave this place, but they failed. They were attacked by many powerful beasts. Why do I feel like so many beasts are looking for us? Lin Feng couldn't help but ask. Immeasurable Taoist nodded. He had the same feeling. It was as if the beasts here were deliberately looking for them. This caused Lin Feng and Immeasurable Taoist to feel puzzled and worried. Maybe these beasts know that you and I have come here and have dodged the attacks of so many beasts, so they want to hunt us down. They want to see who will be the first to kill us. Lin Feng said what he was thinking. After hearing Lin Feng's guess, Immeasurable Taoist immediately shouted. The Immeasurable Taoist immediately cursed, F***CK, that immeasurable deity bastard. Are these beasts treating us as prey? Lin Feng smiled bitterly and nodded. He felt that this was very likely. These beasts were too powerful and intelligent. It wasn't strange for them to treat the two of them as prey. This is going to be very troublesome. Lin Feng said. Lightning flashed in the distant forest. Soon, the huge lightning bolt charged over. Amidst the lightning, there was a purple leopard. The leopard was over 10 meters long, and its aura was extremely terrifying. Its cold eyes looked at Lin Feng and Immeasurable Taoist. Despicable ants, you dare to enter the world inside the Chaos Gate with your cultivation? Are you here to die? This was a lightning leopard, and it could generate the power of lightning. Moreover, it could communicate with the power of lightning in the world. Now that the lightning leopard had discovered the whereabouts of Lin Feng and Immeasurable Taoist, it wanted to kill Lin Feng and Immeasurable Taoist. These beasts can talk. And here I thought they couldn't talk. Lin Feng couldn't help but say. The lightning leopard looked at Lin Feng coldly with contempt and contempt. The other living beings don't talk because they don't want to talk to you. What right do lowly beings have to talk to us? The fact that I can talk to you today is the blessing of your ancestors. Lin Feng sneered. What a joke. You're just a leopard. Normally, you're just a side dish for yours truly. Today, you're acting so cocky. You really don't know the meaning of death. Courting Death. Chapter 2941. There was a reason why Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang didn't choose to flee when the thunder leopard appeared. This thunder leopard was indeed terrifying, but Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang could feel it very clearly. This thunder leopard's aura was much weaker than the other creatures they encountered before. Beasts like the giant crocodile had definitely reached the Emperor realm. However, the thunder leopard shouldn't have reached that level yet. The thunder leopard should be infinitely close to the Emperor realm. Its combat strength was definitely heaven-defying. However, no matter how heaven-defying the thunder leopard was, it wasn't an Emperor realm. As long as it wasn't an Emperor realm, Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang had a way to deal with it. The thunder leopard was extremely fast, as expected of the leopard race. The leopard race was known for their speed, especially the legendary cloud leopard and wind leopard. Their speed was unbelievably fast. The thunder leopard wasn't the fastest among the leopard race. However, it was definitely an extremely fast race. The thunder leopard quickly pounced in front of Lin Feng. Then, it swung its sharp claws at Lin Feng. The thunder leopard's eyes were filled with a cold smile. It was as if it could already see the scene of this person who dared to provoke it being killed by its claws. However, the thunder leopard's wish was about to come true. Just as its powerful claws were about to land on Lin Feng dodged to the left. In an instant, Lin Feng dodged the thunder leopard's terrifying attack. Lin Feng's speed was already extremely fast. Moreover, Lin Feng was now wearing the angel's boots. His speed doubled. Even the thunder leopard in front of him couldn't compare to Lin Feng's speed. Dracophan arms. After dodging the thunder leopard's attack, Lin Feng threw a punch at the thunder leopard. Beasts had strong physical bodies. Therefore, they loved to fight in close combat. The thunder leopard was the same. It was extremely fast and had a terrifying physical body. It had the advantage in close combat. However, today, The thunder leopard had encountered a human cultivator who was faster than it, had a stronger fleshly body, and was even stronger than it. The speed of Lin Feng's punch was simply too fast. Lei Bao simply had no time to dodge this punch. The thunder bao had no choice but to use its claws to block Lin Feng's attack. Bang! Following the violent collision, Lin Feng and Lei Bao fiercely collided. Crack! The sound of bones cracking could be heard. Lei Bao and Lin Feng's right claw was directly broken by Lin Feng. Lei Bao's huge body was sent flying. Taoist Wu Liang's attack came. Taoist Wu Liang took out his blood-red ruler and swept it towards Lei Bao. The thunder leopard tried its best to dodge the attack of the immeasurable Taoist's supreme treasure. However, he still wasn't able to completely dodge it. A popping sound could be heard. Immeasurable Taoist's blood-red ruler directly tore Lei Bao's body apart. Fresh blood flowed out. Lei Bao let out an incomparably painful roar. If it had dodged a little slower, it would have been split into two by Taoist Wu Liang's supreme treasure. Give me your life. Lin Feng pounced on Lei Bao again and punched at it. Swoosh! It was at this moment that Lei Bao displayed a powerful ultimate skill. There was a flash of light. Lei Bao actually disappeared without a trace. In the next moment, it was already 100 meters away when it reappeared. This technique was really unbelievable. It was almost equivalent to a spatial transformation technique. It should be a terrifying technique passed down by the thunder leopard race. You two lowly ants actually hurt me. You deserve to die. All of you deserve to die. Lei Bao roared furiously, his eyes flashing with dense killing intent. When it roared, it tore at the wounds on its body. Fresh blood flowed out continuously. It looked really miserable, but it didn't think of running away. Perhaps it had absolute confidence in itself, so it still wanted to kill Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang even though it was heavily injured. Endless thunderstorm. Lei Bao roared towards the sky. Then, above the 9 heavens, endless thunderstorm condensed. A gust of wind blew. The void collapsed. Thunder struck. Heaven and earth were destroyed. The power of the thunderstorm was really terrifying. It made people turn pale. This Lei Bao was really powerful. It could still summon such a powerful attack, even though it was heavily injured. The power of the thunderstorm descended from the sky, blasting towards Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang. Lin Feng waved his hand. The heavenly mystery pagoda flew out. Rays of protective light fell, protecting Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang. The heavenly mystery pagoda was really useful during this period of time. Now it was showing its powerful use once again. When the power of the thunderstorm came down, it was all blocked by the heavenly mystery pagoda's defensive light shield. Seeing this scene, Lin Feng couldn't help but be happy. Taoist Wu Liang's eyes were green. He had been eyeing Lin Feng's heavenly mystery pagoda for a long time. This treasure was really powerful. Anyone who saw this treasure would be tempted. Attack, Lin Feng said, and took the lead to charge towards Lei Bao. The heavenly mystery pagoda blocked the powerful attack of Lei Bao. Now, it was his and Taoist Wu Liang's turn to attack. Taoist Wu Liang reluctantly retracted his gaze, and then charged towards Lei Bao with Lin Feng. Lin Feng took out 2 stone swords. Swoosh, swoosh. The 2 stone swords slashed towards Lei Bao. The immeasurable Taoist took out his blood-red ruler. The blood-red ruler also quickly slashed towards Lei Bao. Lei Bao opened its bloody mouth and spat out 3 energy balls towards Lin Feng's 2 stone swords and Taoist Wu Liang's blood-red ruler. Bang, bang, bang. The 3 energy balls that Lei Bao spat out struck the 3 magic treasures. A violent collision Sound rang out. However, the 3 energy balls that Lei Bao spat out failed to send the 3 magic treasures flying. Instead, the 3 magic treasures pierced through the energy balls and swept towards Lei Bao. This time, Lei Bao wanted to use the spatial transformation's sacred art from before. However, this time, Lin Feng directly took out a magnetic field to envelop Lei Bao. The void was almost sealed. Hence, Lei Bao's move failed. Pooh, pooh, pooh. The 3 magic treasures pierced through Lei Bao's body. Lei Bao was sent flying. After his huge body fell to the ground, he couldn't help but twitch violently. Lin Feng walked towards Lei Bao. His eyes flashed with dense killing intent. Taoist Wu Liang said with a smile, "Kill him, and we can have dinner." Lei Bao roared, "You can't kill me. My clan's great emperor is one of the strongest overlords in this ancient forest. If you kill me, you will die without a doubt. We will not let the tiger return to the mountain." Lin Feng sneered. A sword chi slashed out and beheaded Lei Bao. At the same time, the sword chi shattered Lei Bao's soul. Lei Bao was killed. Chapter 2942. The moonlight was bright. The moon was as bright as a plate, hanging high in the sky. Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang sat around the bonfire. The thunder leopard's thigh was roasted to a golden color above the bonfire. It emitted a tempting meaty aroma. After smelling it, one's taste buds couldn't help but open up. Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang ate the roasted meat and drank wine. This was a very comfortable life. The only thing to worry about was that they had to be extremely cautious. This was because a terrifying creature might appear at any time. After eating and drinking to their heart's content, Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang continued to head outside. The two wanted to see if they could sneak out under the cover of the night. However, not long after, they were targeted by a terrifying creature. It was a huge owl. This owl had 18 pairs of wings. When it spread its wings, it could cover a distance of 40 to 50 meters. This was definitely an extremely terrifying existence. His body exuded a monstrous aura, causing others to be shocked and moved. It was an Emperor Realm 18-winged owl. Moreover, it was a creature that was most suitable for moving around at night. Owls were originally nocturnal creatures. Even the powerful 18-winged owl in front of them was the same. Their race didn't like to come out during the day because they hated the sunlight. However, when it was nighttime, their battle strength would be enhanced. This was a very special race. Their battle strength would greatly increase at night, and their battle strength would greatly decrease during the day. Being targeted by this 18-winged owl was naturally an extremely bad thing for Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang. The 18-winged owl was very fast. The two of them fled and almost died at the hands of the 18-winged owl several times. Fortunately, they eventually entered the territory of another ferocious beast. These ferocious beasts attached great importance to the concept of territory. Therefore, they wouldn't enter the territories of other ferocious beasts. The 18-winged owl in front of them was the same. Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang could heave a sigh of relief for the time being. They found a place to rest for a while before continuing on. Not long after, the two of them found the corpse of a cultivator. Then, the two of them quickly walked towards the corpse. This was the corpse of a cultivator from the myriad races. However, this person clearly hadn't reached the Emperor Realm. There are other cultivators here. Lin Feng said. Taoist Wu Liang nodded and said, "Looks like there are still some cultivators who haven't reached the Great Emperor Realm yet. I wonder how the others are doing?" Lin Feng replied, "If you fall into this place, I'm afraid that very few people will be able to leave this place alive." Taoist Wu Liang agreed with this point. This place was too dangerous. Entering this forest was like entering the nest of a beast. If it was an ordinary beast, it would have been fine. However, the most important thing was that there were some great emperor-level ferocious beasts living here. Not long after, the roar of a beast shook the sky. Then, a dense pack of ferocious birds flew out from the sky. Those ferocious birds flew quickly above the mountain forest, as if they were looking for something. There were also a large number of ferocious beasts galloping in the forest. It was as if a beast tide had broken out. Those powerful, ferocious beasts let out deep roars from time to time, just like the ferocious birds in the sky. The ferocious beasts in the forest also seemed to be looking for something. Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang hid in a cave halfway up a mountain. They sealed the cave with a seal. Are they looking for us? Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter to himself. Taoist Wu Liang said, "Most likely, it looks like the great emperor of the Thunder Leopard clan is angry." Previously, the Thunder Leopard had said that the great emperor of the Thunder Leopard clan was one of the strongest existences in this ancient forest. Now, it seemed that this was true. News of the Thunder Leopard's death had reached the clan. Then, the terrifying existence of the Thunder Leopard clan had launched a terrifying attack. The current situation was extremely bad for Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang because they could be discovered at any time. Once discovered, they would be in danger. Violent fluctuations came from the distance. A group of cultivators was attacking a dozen or so myriad race cultivators. Apart from us, there are indeed some cultivators who haven't reached the Great Emperor realm yet. It looks like they've also grasped the method to enter this place. Lin Feng couldn't help but say, when he saw the group of cultivators being surrounded. Taoist Wu Liang looked at the myriad race cultivators gloatingly and said, "However, it looks like those fellows are in for a bad time now." That group of cultivators was very strong, but now they were surrounded by a group of terrifying fierce beasts and birds. Although they had displayed amazing battle strength and killed many fierce beasts and birds, they were still in a constant battle. In this continuous battle, people on their side were constantly being killed. The situation was very dangerous. These people wanted to try to break out of the encirclement, but more and more fierce beasts and birds came from all directions and then attacked them even more fiercely. No one was able to escape. The situation before them made the myriad race cultivators feel a deep sense of despair. Why is it like this? The myriad race cultivators roared in indignation. They were able to enter the world inside the primal chaos gate. It was clear that they were people with great fortune. Moreover, their backgrounds were extremely extraordinary. But now, no matter what kind of fortune they had or how extraordinary their backgrounds were, it was all destined to become a thing of the past. In this place, only life and death mattered, not birth. Soon, these myriad race cultivators were drowned by a group of fierce beasts and birds. They died tragically under the siege of these fierce beasts and birds. Lin Feng didn't sympathize with these myriad race cultivators. This was a world where the strong preyed on the weak. When entering such a dangerous place, one had to have the mentality that anything could happen. If they died here, they could only blame themselves for not being strong enough. The world of cultivators had always been this cruel, not to mention that these myriad race cultivators were of foreign races. Who knew how many massacres they had caused in the 9 prefectures? Who knew how many innocent people had died in the hands of these people? They deserved to die and didn't deserve sympathy. Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang's hiding place didn't encounter any danger for the time being. However, this was something that would happen sooner or later. It was impossible for them to not be discovered. On this day, Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang saw a huge winged dragon flying over from afar. It was definitely an extremely terrifying existence, much stronger than the thunder leopard. However, That winged dragon probably hadn't entered the Great Emperor realm. When it flew over the cave Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang were hiding in, the winged dragon seemed to sense something. Its cold eyes looked down at the mountain peak below. Then, the winged dragon flapped its wings and flew down. The winged dragon circled around the huge mountain peak, a pair of cold eyes staring at it. It seemed to be searching for something. Chapter 2943. Lin Feng, an immeasurable Taoist, held their breaths, not daring to make the slightest sound. The cave they were hiding in had already been sealed. From the outside, the cave looked no different from an ordinary mountain. However, there was no guarantee that the winged dragon's divine sense would be so powerful that it would be able to find some clues. Or perhaps the winged dragon would suddenly attack and destroy the entire mountain. If that happened, Lin Feng, an immeasurable Taoist, would be completely exposed. These were all possible scenarios, so they had to be on guard. At this moment, Lin Feng, an immeasurable Taoist, were extremely nervous. The winged dragon flew to the entrance of the cave and looked at the mountain in front of it with a puzzled expression. Although the mountain looked no different from other mountains from the outside, there was something strange about it. The winged dragon felt that something was wrong. However, it couldn't figure out what was wrong, so it wanted to take a closer look. Just as the winged dragon was about to take a closer look, a beast's roar came from the distance. It sounded like the language of beasts. Lin Feng couldn't understand what it meant, but the winged dragon could. The winged dragon didn't bother checking the mountain in front of it. Instead, it soared into the sky and flew into the distance. Lin Feng, an immeasurable Taoist, couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. They had nearly been scared to death just now. Fortunately, the winged dragon had been lured away. Lin Feng couldn't help but ask, "What happened? Why did the winged dragon leave?" Immeasurable Taoist said, "The beasts in the distance said that they had discovered some experts and were calling for their powerful companions to help. When the winged dragon heard that, it quickly flew over to help." "Holy shit, you even know the language of beasts? You're a genius." Lin Feng looked at Immeasurable Taoist in shock. He realized that Immeasurable Taoist really knew a lot of tricks. The longer he stayed with him, the more shocked he would be. Immeasurable Taoist curled his lips and said, "What's so special about the language of beasts? I've even studied bird language, fish language, insect language, and so on deeply. As an excellent archaeologist, it's very important to learn these languages, because in many cases you can get some answers by asking birds, fish, insects, beasts, and so on." Hearing Immeasurable Taoist's words, Lin Feng really admired Immeasurable Taoist from the bottom of his heart. No wonder this guy could still live so freely after being a grave robber for so many years. This was because the Immeasurable Taoist had too many tricks up his sleeve. So many that it was shocking, so many that it was inconceivable, so many that it was unimaginable. The battle in the distance was very intense. The fluctuations were incomparably violent. A large number of ominous beasts and birds rushed over and launched an incomparably fierce battle. The one being besieged was definitely a creature with extremely terrifying combat strength. However, he did not know who they were. Myriad races? Alien races? Were they cultivators from other foreign forces or cultivators from the 9 regions? So many terrifying, ferocious beasts and birds besieged together, but the other party still managed to tear a bloody path out. The 3 figures quickly rushed into the distance. "Young Master Nya, Sheng Yuan Dao, there's another person, I don't know." Lin Feng was shocked. He did not expect that the people being besieged were actually these 3 people. Needless to say, young Master Nya's bloodline was incomparably terrifying, and his combat strength was incomparably terrifying. He was one of the most terrifying cultivators among the younger generation of the myriad races. Sheng Yuan Dao was equally famous as Young Master Nia. He was a top genius from the Sacred God clan, and his combat strength was unparalleled. The third cultivator was a female cultivator. She was tall and charming and wore a black gauze dress. It wrapped her perfect body in it. It was filled with endless seductive beauty. That woman had a delicate face that looked like it could be broken by the wind. She should not be too old. However, she was charming and enchanting. She was truly a rare beauty. These three people were besieged by so many ferocious beasts and birds, but they actually managed to tear open a path to escape. It was truly terrifying. These three people are too powerful. They definitely surpass many experts of the older generation. Immeasurable Taoist said. Lin Feng did not doubt this at all. The combat strength of these three people indeed surpassed many experts of the older generation. If they were given time, these three people would definitely be able to break through to the Great Emperor realm. Lin Feng naturally did not want to see them break through to the Great Emperor realm. Whether it was Young Master Nia or Sheng Yuan Dao, they both regarded the human race as slaves. They had insulted the human race more than once. Once such people became great emperors, it would be a devastating blow to the human race of the 9 continents. At that time, who knew how many innocent people would die in their hands? A large number of ferocious beasts and birds chased after the three people. Lin Feng and Immeasurable Taoist could finally relax when they saw this scene. They did not leave the cave because it was extremely unwise to go out now. They would only be able to escape after the beast tide dispersed. If they went out now, they would definitely be discovered. At that time, it would be dangerous. There was no moon that night. Black clouds rolled, and the atmosphere was incomparably oppressive. Ferocious beasts were often most active at night. There were roars of beasts everywhere. However, this night was extremely strange, because there were no roars of beasts that night. Even the sounds of insects and birds had disappeared. Boom! In the middle of the night, a terrifying fluctuation came from the depths of the mountain forest. It was a terrifying immortal light. Endless immortal light flew out. There seemed to be something wrapped in the immortal light. The aura of that thing was too terrifying. Lin Feng felt that even the aura of an immortal artifact could not compare to that mysterious thing. Lin Feng even felt that the aura of that thing was even more terrifying than that of an ancient artifact. Heavens! What the hell is that? Lin Feng looked at the mysterious item in the depths of the cave. It was definitely a heaven-defying treasure. However, he did not know the origin of that treasure. Immeasurable Taoist almost drooled. Go, go, go. Let's go see what that treasure is. Immeasurable Taoist shouted and was about to rush outside. Wait, what's the rush? Don't you know that the arrow shoots the bird that takes the lead? Lin Feng pulled Immeasurable Taoist back. Immeasurable Taoist finally calmed down. There were no longer any signs of ferocious beasts in the mountain forest outside. After the mysterious treasure appeared, no other living creatures appeared. After coming out, Lin Feng and Immeasurable Taoist stood some distance away and observed the situation. The mysterious treasure, shrouded in endless immortal light, charged out from the deepest part of the ancient forest. Roar! A roar reverberated through the clouds, and a colossal creature with a height of 10,000 meters stood up to grab the mysterious treasure. What kind of creature is that? Chapter 2944. That being stood up straight and had 8 arms. Its head was as large as a mountain, and its roar seemed to be able to bring down the stars in the outer realm. The terrifying being was about to grab the treasure. However, a terrifying beam of light shot out from the treasure. The terrifying beam of light slammed into the giant beast, causing it to stumble back. The giant beast smashed through mountain after mountain. It's the legendary 8-armed Tyrannosaurus. Lin Feng finally saw what the terrifying being was. It was actually an 8-armed Tyrannosaurus. The Tyrannosaurus was a super overlord among the Earth Dragons. The bloodline of the Earth Dragons was relatively weak compared to the other dragon races. However, that didn't mean that all Earth Dragons were weak. The royal bloodline of the Earth Dragons, such as the Tyrannosaurus Rex and the Tyrannosaurus Rex, was extremely terrifying. Compared to any other dragon race, the Tyrannosaurus Rex and the Tyrannosaurus Rex wouldn't be at a disadvantage. The 8-armed Tyrannosaurus Rex was a mutated race among the Tyrannosaurus Rex. This mutated race had a stronger bloodline, a larger body, greater strength, and more terrifying abilities. Lin Feng had read about the 8-armed Tyrannosaurus Rex in the classic of Mountains and Seas, but this was the first time he had seen such a terrifying being in the real world. Lin Feng couldn't help but take a deep breath. The world inside the Chaos Gate was truly extraordinary. Even a terrifying being like the 8-armed Tyrannosaurus Rex existed. That was a legendary giant beast. It really is the 8-armed Tyrannosaurus Rex. Wasn't it said to be extinct long ago? I didn't expect such a creature to exist in the world inside the Chaos Gate. Immeasurable Taoist said with shock, "The world is vast and boundless. It's not easy to destroy an entire race," said Lin Feng. Compared to the shock brought by the 8-armed Tyrannosaurus Rex, the mysterious treasure shocked Lin Feng, an immeasurable Taoist, even more, because the 8-armed Tyrannosaurus Rex was sent flying by a beam of light from that treasure. Just what kind of treasure was it? How could it have such terrifying power? It was truly inconceivable. The treasure quickly flew outside. Not long after, the giant alligator made its move. Its huge tail lashed out at the treasure. The tail whipped down. Lin Feng felt as if even the heavens and earth were about to be torn apart. Facing the giant crocodile's attack, the mysterious treasure simply shot out a beam of light, which collided with the giant crocodile's tail. The giant crocodile was sent flying by the beam of light. The scales on its tail fell off, and a large amount of blood gushed out. Even the giant crocodile couldn't withstand a single blow from that treasure. "Oh, my God, what kind of treasure is this? Isn't he too powerful?" Taoist Wu Liang was already dumbfounded. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. It was too shocking. But everything was real. It was a treasure that displayed a heaven-defying might. It made people feel as if they were in a dream. Lin Feng smiled bitterly. Even those great emperor-level beasts were sent flying with a single blow. Do you think we should attack if that treasure really flies towards us? If we don't attack, we'll have regrets. If we attack, we might be reduced to ashes. Lin Feng wasn't the only one who smiled bitterly. Taoist Wu Liang was also in deep distress. It was just as Lin Feng had said. Should they attack? When the time came, roar. An earth-shattering roar resounded through the clouds, spreading in all directions. A huge, ferocious beast stood up. It was 7,000 to 8,000 meters tall. It was actually a lightning leopard surrounded by endless lightning. A lightning leopard's body wasn't that big. An adult lightning leopard was only a dozen meters long. Clearly, this lightning leopard was a lawful embodiment of heaven and earth. The thunder leopard opened its mouth wide, wanting to swallow the treasure that appeared in the sky in one gulp. "This is the guy who started the beast tide, right?" Taoist Wu Liang said through gritted teeth. Lin Feng nodded and said, "This lightning leopard has a terrifying aura. It's definitely a terrifying existence. The lawful embodiment of heaven and earth it's manifested is too huge. I wonder if it can devour that supreme treasure. Boom! In the face of the lightning leopard's attempt to swallow it, the mysterious treasure showed its might again. This time, it shot out a terrifying beam of light. The beam of light shone on the lightning leopard's body. Bang! The lightning leopard's huge body exploded. The treasure destroyed the lightning leopard's lawful embodiment of heaven and earth. How heaven-defying! Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang were deeply shocked. The treasure rushed out from the depths of the forest and flew toward Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang. The two of them were stunned. It was actually flying toward them. The two of them hesitated for a moment before deciding to give it a try. They wanted to see if they could take that treasure. Lin Feng had the heaven-devouring jar, which came in handy. As for Taoist Wu Liang, he definitely had his own methods. If they were attacked by that treasure, the heavenly mystery pagoda would probably be able to save their lives. Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang's plan was quite good. However, the treasure flew halfway to the left. It's flying this way. It's flying in the wrong direction. Lin Feng shouted. Heavenly Lord Wu Liang, damn it, that's my treasure. Taoist Wu Liang flew toward the treasure. Swoosh! Suddenly, a cultivator flew out from the void. The cultivator had a pair of wings on his back. He was a great emperor of the myriad races. He opened his hand and pressed down on the treasure. Just as the cultivator made his move, the void split open again. The primal chaos ancient bell flew out and sent the great emperor flying. Damn it! The great emperor, who was sent flying, couldn't help but roar. The treasure is mine. The primal chaos ancient bell shouted excitedly as it rapidly grew in size. In the blink of an eye, it became the size of a mountain. Then, the primal chaos ancient bell emitted a terrifying devouring power that moved toward the treasure. Roar! A roar came from the forest. 1,000-meter-tall beast stood up and punched the primal chaos ancient bell. With a loud bang, the ferocious beast smashed the chaos ancient bell and sent it flying. After seeing the beast's appearance, Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang were shocked. It was a creature that was somewhat similar to an ancient ape. Its muscles contained explosive power, and its entire body was covered in golden hair. Titan! It's actually a titan. This is a legendary race that can kill immortals. Taoist Wu Liang couldn't help but exclaim. Lin Feng was also shocked. The world behind the primal chaos gate was too terrifying. Even the legendary titan that could kill immortals had appeared. Chapter 2945. The appearance of the titan race was truly surprising. The world within the chaos gate was filled with secrets, and each of them was capable of causing an uproar. These terrifying creatures were already hard to find in the outside world, but they kept appearing in the world within the chaos gate. Anyone who saw them would find it unbelievable. The world within the chaos gate was like a world that had not been destroyed at all. This world was filled with mysteries, unknowns, power, and immortality. It was filled with many things and creatures that were incomprehensible. After Tai Tan smashed the chaos ancient bell away, he opened his big hand and grabbed the mysterious treasure. He didn't know what it was, but it was emitting such shocking waves of energy and could display such peerless and terrifying power. The treasure dealt with the Titan the same way it dealt with the other powerhouses. A beam of light shot out. It swept towards the Titan. Its power could destroy the heavens and the earth. It was terrifying to the extreme, and it was enough to shock and awe anyone who saw it. The terrifying attack seemed to be able to turn everything in the world into ashes in an instant. The attack collided with the Titan, and in an instant, the Titan was sent flying. Even someone as powerful as the Titan was unable to suppress the treasure. What kind of treasure is this? Lin Feng's heart trembled. The power of this treasure was a little too extraordinary. It was unimaginable that it could be so tyrannical. Just what level of treasure was this to be able to repel so many tyrannical creatures? The treasure tore through the void and disappeared without a trace. Terrifying creatures roared and shook the sky as they quickly chased after the treasure. In the distance, there were even more terrifying creatures chasing after it. Lin Feng and Wu Liang had seen more than a dozen emperor-level creatures here. How many of them had appeared here? When Lin Feng and the boundless Taoist priest saw those great emperors running towards the mysterious treasure, they were delighted. Now, they could finally leave this ancient forest. Although they had failed to obtain the treasure, being able to leave this ancient forest was still something worth celebrating for Lin Feng and Wu Liang. If they continued to be trapped here, the two of them felt that sooner or later they would be killed by some kind of terrifying creature. Lin Feng and Wu Liang successfully walked out of the ancient forest that was fraught with danger. They greedily sucked in the fresh air of the Chaos Gate's inner world. The air here was filled with immortal energy. Taking a breath, their bodies felt relaxed. I wonder where the immortal mountain and river in the scroll painting are, Lin Feng asked. He decided to search for that place with Wu Liang. That place was one of the most mysterious places in the inner world of the Chaos Gate. Lin Feng and the boundless Taoist priest had been in the scroll's world with the stone turtle. They had crossed the fog and arrived there. Now, they had really entered the inner world of the primal Chaos Gate. That river, that stone tortoise, and those immortal cranes that flew across the sky towards the immortal mountain, were they still there? The two of them began to search for the place they had seen in the scroll painting. They hoped to find that place. There was definitely a great opportunity hidden there. If they could find it, Lin Feng and Wu Liang would benefit greatly. It would definitely be of great benefit to them. In the distance, 3 figures streaked across the sky. Lin Feng and Wu Liang were shocked. They were actually Gong Zong, Nya, Sheng Yuandao, and that woman that Lin Feng and Wu Liang did not recognize. The 3 of them were incomparably powerful, and their luck was monstrous. They had also entered the inner world of the Chaos Gate. They seemed to be in a hurry. They seemed to be searching for something. Wu Liang said. Lin Feng nodded and said, "Follow them. Let's see what they're up to." Then, the 2 of them stealthily followed behind the 3. Lin Feng used the Great Void technique and hid in the void. It was as if he had become a part of the void. Wu Liang also had a similar ability. Although it was not the Great Void technique, it was still extremely extraordinary. As a veteran Tomb Raider, Immeasurable Taoist definitely had some extraordinary means. And now, Immeasurable Taoist was displaying these means. Gongzong Nya Sheng Yuandao, and that woman had been discussing something along the way. However, because they were too far away, Lin Feng and Wu Liang could not hear them. In the end, the 3 of them arrived at a lake. It was an ice lake. The surrounding 30 miles was incomparably cold. Snow was constantly falling, and the ice lake was frozen. The 3 of them floated above the ice lake. This should be the place. The female cultivator said. "Let's go down and take a look," Gongzong Nya said excitedly. Then, the 3 of them raised their magic power barriers. Then, they broke through the ice and entered the depths of the ice lake. It seems that the 3 of them have some secrets. I wonder what kind of opportunity is hidden under the ice lake. Lin Feng could not help but raise his eyebrows slightly. Dong, dong, dong. At this moment, the sound of war drums came from the depths of the ice lake. It was as if the void was about to collapse. Lin Feng and the Taoist priest were stupefied. Something terrifying had happened. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. At this moment, Gong Zhongnia Sheng Yuan Dao and the female cultivator quickly rushed out of the ice lake. After they rushed out, the black fog tumbled, and the sound of strange beasts trampling on the air came from the black fog. Then Lin Feng and Wu Liang saw more than a dozen black-armored knights rushing out of the black fog. They were riding terrifying strange beasts. Each of them was holding a war spear. The war spears in their hands trembled slightly. It was as if they could collapse the void. Seeing this scene, the two of them were extremely shocked. Such terrifying black-armored knights. They were definitely heaven-defying existences. They're not living people, but puppets. To think that they could refine puppets to such a powerful level. This is unbelievable. Lin Feng couldn't help but exclaim after seeing through the black-armored knights. Wu Liang said, "These black-armored knights are puppets refined from the corpses of supreme experts. This refining method is truly superb. It's as if they were refined into new living beings. What are they guarding? Could it be an immortal estate or a great tomb?" Lin Feng thought of a possibility. This was the world inside the primal chaos gate. If they were guarding an immortal estate or a great tomb, didn't that mean that the immortal estate or tomb these black-armored knights were guarding was left behind by immortals? Chapter 2946. Let's observe the situation first. Taoist Wu Liang said. Lin Feng whispered, "What do you think is down there?" Surrounded by mountains is a trap. A lake with water is a lake. A mountain ridge in the distance is like a dragon. And a dragon trapped in a lake is a tomb. Taoist Wu Liang said. This damned Taoist Wu Liang was indeed an expert in tomb raiding. He was able to see through the clues with just a casual observation. It was impossible not to admire Taoist Wu Liang. Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang hid in the dark, wanting to see how Gong Zhongnia, Sheng Yuan Dao, and the woman would deal with the dozen black-armored knights. "Destroy them," Sheng Yuan Dao said with an indifferent expression. He was very strong and had confidence in himself. Swish! With a flash of light, Sheng Yuan Dao took out a halberd. Holding the halberd, his body exuded boundless battle intent. At this moment, Sheng Yuan Dao seemed to have transformed into a primordial war god, possessing boundless battle strength. With a wave of his sword, he could shatter the heavens, not to mention the myriad worlds of the universe. He was indeed worthy of being a top genius of the sacred god clan. His battle strength was absolutely heaven-defying. A blood-red sword appeared in Gong Zhongnia's right hand. Clearly, it was also an extraordinary treasure. Compared to Sheng Yuandao's majestic aura, Gong Zhongnia looked much calmer. However, no one dared to underestimate him. He had always been hiding his strength. However, his battle strength was terrifying to a heaven-defying extent. The woman took out a fire dragon whip. The fire dragon whip was also a powerful supreme treasure. He had refined the soul of a fire dragon into the whip. Furthermore, the fire dragon whip was made from the tendons of a fire dragon. At the same time, she had added dozens of powerful immortal materials. It was definitely an extraordinary treasure. Now that it had fallen into the hands of the woman, it could be said that it complemented each other. Clap, 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 clap. The woman waved the fire dragon whip in her hand. Suddenly, the fire dragon whip emitted a series of violent sounds. Even the void was almost shattered by the impact. Gong Zhongnia, Sheng Yuandao, and the woman attacked the dozen black-armored knights. The two sides immediately engaged in an intense battle, but Gong Zhongnia, Sheng Yuandao, and the woman were quickly defeated. Although the three of them had heaven-defying battle strength, the black-armored knights were too powerful. In the battle between the two sides, the three of them repeatedly encountered danger. He was almost killed. In the end, the three of them left the battlefield. With just the three of us, I'm afraid it will be very difficult to defeat these black-armored knights. Sheng Yuandao said with a gloomy expression, "How about we find the heavenly demon emperor's son and the others?" The female cultivator said. Sheng Yuandao and Gongzini frowned slightly. They didn't want to share the opportunities here with others. However, with their current strength, it was difficult for them to enter. Gongzongya said, "Let's do it this way." The three of them quickly reached an agreement. Then they quickly left to search for the heavenly demon emperor's son and the others. After the three of them left, the dozen or so black-armored knights entered the ice lake with the endless black fog. Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang walked out from their hiding place. "These black-armored knights are so strong. Do you have a way to deal with them?" Lin Feng asked. "Follow me down to investigate. Let's see what's going on inside first." Immeasurable Taoist said. Lin Feng nodded and summoned the heavenly profound pagoda to protect him and immeasurable Taoist. Then the two of them quickly entered the ice lake. Soon they reached the deepest part of the ice lake. In the deepest part of the ice lake, there was a huge abyss. This was the bottom of the lake. At the bottom of the abyss, terrifying demonic energy was constantly gushing out. "It's down there." Lin Feng pointed at the abyss. He, an immeasurable Taoist, carefully entered the abyss. Immeasurable Taoist kept looking around, constantly observing their surroundings. When they reached the bottom of the abyss, they saw a huge cave at the bottom. The space around the cave was slightly distorted. Outside the cave stood two huge stone statues. The statue on the left was a three-headed, six-armed demon god, while the statue on the right was a half-dragon with a human body and a dragon head. These are guardian statues. With a demon god and a half-dragon as guardians, this tomb is extraordinary. Immeasurable Taoist said, "Dong, dong, dong." At that moment, the sound of war drums came from the depths of the cave. This time, Lin Feng and Immeasurable Taoist were even closer to the war drums. Thus, they could hear them even more clearly. The two of them screamed and couldn't help but clutch their chests tightly. An unprecedented pain swept through their bodies. The sound of the war drums was very strange. It made them feel as if their hearts were about to explode. At that moment, black fog gushed out of the cave. More than a dozen black-armored knights riding strange beasts crushed the void and charged toward Lin Feng and Immeasurable Taoist. "Oh my God, run!" Immeasurable Taoist shouted and turned to run. Whoosh! Lin Feng also rushed up. He was even faster, leaving Immeasurable Taoist far behind. After Lin Feng rushed out of the ice lake, he stood in the distance and looked at the ice lake. Not long after, Immeasurable Taoist escaped, followed by more than a dozen black-armored knights. The black-armored knights waved their war spears at Immeasurable Taoist, wanting to kill him. The spear light was very terrifying, instantly shattering the void. Just as it was about to hit Immeasurable Taoist, he casually took out a puppet. The puppet quickly grew bigger and blocked all the spear light attacks. Immeasurable Taoist took the opportunity to escape. The black-armored knights didn't chase after him. They looked coldly at Immeasurable Taoist and Lin Feng in the distance, then returned to the ice lake. "Immeasurable, heavenly venerate my immortal. This is the only one I have left. Now it's wasted." Immeasurable Taoist wailed and sat on the ground, panting heavily. "It's good enough that you made it out alive." Lin Feng said as he walked toward Immeasurable Taoist. Then he continued, "There's definitely something terrifying in the Great Tomb, especially the sound of the war drums. It's too special. Fortunately, it only sounded a few times. If it sounded too much, I feel like my heart would explode." Lin Feng couldn't help but say. Immeasurable Taoist nodded and said, "It's definitely a powerful treasure. There's definitely something good in this great tomb, and there's more than one. It's worth searching for." Lin Feng said, If you're not an emperor, I think it'll be very difficult to enter. Those black armored knights are too powerful. Also, I noticed that the black armor they're wearing is an extremely powerful treasure. Now that young Master Nya and the others have left, when they return, there might be emperors following them. At that time, we might not have anything to do with it,